What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is DC 420 LA Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, Donald and Beauregard, you're going to be putting your money where your mouth is, it looks like. Is federal cannabis legalization Trump's October surprise? Or is he just getting back at Beauregard? It's a battle at the ballot box over BINGUS in 2018 and 2020 between Democrats and the OG-GOP. Have you voted for cannabis in your state yet? It's on 7 ballots and more with early voting underway. The FDA wants your input on pot again, in case you forgot last time. 3 days until legal cannabis in the Great White North, eh? But ours almost no access and limited supply. Beauty. All that and more news.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
I do protest, Beauregard. We've been broadcasting on Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network.
President Trump says he is likely to support bipartisan efforts in Congress to ease the federal ban on marijuana. The legislation would allow states to decide what they want to do. The president's comments put him in conflict with Jeff Sessions. The attorney general, of course, has been outspoken opponent of pot. Steve Forbes, would you make that investment in marijuana right now?
I think marijuana is like smoking or any other substance. I don't know why it has this glamour. It's amazing. People who don't like regular smoking are saying, oh, we must legalize marijuana. Okay, it's going to be legalized one way or the other. Let's not have any illusions about what it can do to you. So let's take the glamour away. If states want to do it, they should do so, have the kind of restrictions you have on booze and cigarettes, because this can do you harm if you overdo it.
So you remove the federal regulation so they can actually do some banking on this and maybe even collect more taxes?
Oh, the states are always hungry for more taxes. The feds are always hungry for more taxes. They would do anything to get more taxes. So that's out there. But that's not the reason to do it. People are doing it, so therefore you got to deal with it. But deal with it in a way in which people know the health consequences of it, like anything else.
All right, Steve Forbes.
What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? I'm Dave Conan, and this is indeed DC 420 LA, the Week in Weed Live, the show where we spark up and talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and cannabis cures every Sunday at 420 Pacific. And when I say we, I of course mean my partner in all things, Coach Chella.
Yes, hi.
Looks like your mic is on and you are modulating well.
But I'm not fired up.
You're not? Oh, you did not spark up.
No, I did not spark up.
This is the show where we spark up.
I was token on a bag. What can I tell you?
Hey, that's right. We have indeed been continued to use our air riser EQ up. Over there. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yes, there is the EQ. We have been doing bags of that, and now we are fired up. Well, awesome, Chella. Welcome.
Hello.
A big week,
and welcome
week.
to the Grandmaster level folks. I'm noticing a lot of folks from that show, from the chat, coming over, and that's so nice to see them all.
That is indeed, and let's be clear, when I say the fight over BINGUS, I lovingly borrow the name that our good friend BINGUS over at Grandmaster level calls himself and his channel, and refers to it as a term for cannabis, which is where I learned that.
That's right.
So, and it rolled so well, alliteration in the headline. So I thought I'd use it because it was on my mind. It was in the vibration, you know.
It's true.
So, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. This is indeed DC 420 LA, the Week in Weed.
Yeah.
And we do this every Sunday at 420 Pacific. This is a medical and recreational cannabis show originating from the great state of California, where we have it legal in most respects. But the busts continue. You know, the fight goes on, folks. Our screenplay is not in any danger.
That's right.
Even here in California or in Colorado, where it's been legal forever. But this is indeed a recreational and medical cannabis show coming from California, where it is legal. And we do, and when you recreate, you do medicate. Because it's all cannabis. It should be regulated like an agricultural product. And that's what we certainly talk about here on the show. Welcome, everybody.
That is what I wrote in my comment to...
To who?
To the government.
What's that?
The government.
The government.
The government.
The FDA.
The government. Yeah, the FDA wants our comments to put a recommendation together. Not just our comments, but all y'all's comments.
I don't know if it's because I smoke weed, but didn't they do this before?
They did. They did it on CBD.
It all sounds very familiar. But
well, this question is about THC and about cannabis in general, resins, extracts, the whole thing. We're going to talk about it later in the show, but I'm super duper excited about it, and I posted my comment before the show to make sure that I could let you guys know about it.
I think we're pretty much talking about it now in the show.
Oh, okay, great. Let's talk about it now.
Well, because ultimentally,
I also sent a postcard. I'm going to be sending a postcard.
I know everybody in this chat certainly follows Marijuana Moment.
Yeah.
Oh wait, what do you got going there?
I got my. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Wait, well, let me know.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Do your marijuana. Do your thing first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
go for it. Let the people know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
If you're not following Marijuana Moment, you should be. But I get much of my news from there. But really great coverage of what's going on during this election season as far as marijuana goes. And it's happening already, folks. Early voting is happening in many of the states where there are local ordinances, where there are state initiatives. 7 states have it on their ballots this year to legalize. North Dakota going to legalize this year. So it's happening already. So that's great news. Marijuana Moment on top of all that. And of course, they're the ones that Tom and Kyle over there picked up. There's a great story about the Democrats and the Republicans and the clash over who will lead on marijuana in 2019. If anybody, the regulars of this show, like Vegan Metro and others who have been with us from the very beginning, will know that we've said cannabis 2018 and 2020, this is what everybody's talking about.
Because that's what it is. It's totally, these elections are all about cannabis. I'm voting on cannabis. I'm telling everybody I know about voting on cannabis. All y'all make sure that you guys are registered to vote in your areas. There's a lot of people who don't realize that they can vote, or easier ways to vote, like vote by mail. I know there's a lot of controversy, blah, blah. Oh, does it count? Does it not count? Listen, vote by mail if you're not going to vote at all. Just vote. Just vote. Vote by mail. It's easy.
They're just trying to not get you to do it by fearing you in.
Right. And also, there are people like felons who are allowed to vote in the state of California after done with parole. There's other states where it's like that too. So check on that and make sure that all your loved ones, all your friends are ready to, do the right thing, because there's a lot of cannabis stuff on the bubble. And like Dave is saying, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Democrats or is it going to be Republicans who are leading the charge in cannabis normalization?
Well,
they're falling all over themselves.
We've been talking about it since Texas GOP said they took it off of their platform, or made it legalization.
They put it on their platform.
Put it on their platform. Descheduling of cannabis. It's the Oklahoma medical marijuana law passed with huge numbers. Huge. 62% of the country now, and you can catch all that news that we're talking about over there. We're going to talk about some of these articles over at DC420LA.com, a Cannabis Chronicle. I put this out every Saturday if you want to get it in your mailbox. It's a cool little list of all those articles that I find interesting throughout the week. And or you can just go straight to the website every Saturday and check out some of the stories we're going to talk about on the show today. And some of the stuff that's not covered in the mainstream media, because we're a show that likes to cover marijuana in the mainstream media. I'm a visual person, So I enjoy the news stories from the local markets and like to criticize them. But you don't find a lot of these stories in those markets. For instance, there's no coverage of what Jerry Brown did to California.
No.
Over what he vetoed and what he signed in California, as in the mainstream TV markets here at all. He basically signed everything for corporate cannabis, and screwed screwed the medicinal end of it more because of in support of Prop 64. So you're not seeing that coverage in the TV news. So we like to talk about that. That the legislature passed the compassionate cannabis bill, they were calling it, for tax-free donations, and passed it overwhelmingly, and he vetoed it because it wasn't in the spirit of Prop 64 of taxing and getting money in for that, for recreational. For instance, there is no tax on recreational in, what's the state? Nevada. No sales tax. There was a wholesale tax, but no sales tax.
On recreational?
On recreational. There's a tax on recreational, but not on medical.
I see.
Card in Nevada. But couldn't do that here in California. Not in the spirit of the law. So, Jerry's last hurrah, not so cool on cannabis, but we are going to get events. So that's kind of a cool thing. We'd like to see how that shakes out, but there's problems with 2022. So, it's going to need to be adjusted. It's the Wild West. But if you want to hear about all that news on a Saturday, maybe get in your mailbox, going over to dc420la.com. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I do most of my tweeting, which I catch when I find a video. I upload it to a playlist and share it with everybody on Twitter. And whatever news I find throughout the week, I share it there immediately. So you can follow me there. Us there, if you will. Chella has her own Twitter for Al's Notes, which is all very exciting. But we have a big show today, so, but there's going to be great news. There's going to be new news. New news. You want to talk about it a little bit? I'm kind of excited.
No, that's cool.
No? Because good things happening.
It's true. There's lots of good stuff. We'll see as it unfolds.
Badass. What are we calling you?
Dementia care partner. I'm a dementia caregiver. Care partner, caregiver, care trainer, care coach.
Care coach. That's what it is. Badass care coach.
Yeah.
And it's true.
It's true.
So lots of great things happening there. Yesterday was my birthday.
Yeah. It was a beautiful day.
I look pretty good for 65.
You do. You look great. Amazing. Amazing.
Of course, I'm 55.
Yeah, that's true.
But still not too bad.
And you're looking mighty fine. Yeah, we did. We had a great day. We did have a
great day. So that story, really, the FDA, let's talk about that for a little bit, Chell. Let's talk about the FDA.
Okay.
Before we get into this next video with Earl the Pearl.
Cool.
But what is the FDA looking for again?
So they want our input on a bunch of different drugs. If you have any experience with fentanyl and all those things, they want your input about that too, but I would keep it separate from your comments about cannabis. You can send in comments, online. There. You can send in comments online. You can go to the, if you follow the story.
Oh, that's the,
yeah.
I don't know.
The High Times story, but whatever. I'll drop it here.
Frozen, which is not a good sign, by the way.
Oh.
I can't.
That's okay. I have it right here in my notes. So, the story. So the regulations.gov is looking for your comments. The World Health Organization is seeking to study and gauge effects and impacts that legalizing marijuana might have.
Okay, I got it back. There we go.
Before weighing in on the issue, the FDA wants to hear from the public, and that's where the agency's call for comments comes in. Members of the public have until October 31st to submit your comments.
Call to action.
I found this story, by the way, at the Cannabis Chronicle on Saturday, and Dave sent it out.
Even my wife reads the Cannabis, even DC, the other half of DC 420, reads the Cannabis Chronicle.
I do.
Awesome news.
It's true. Really, really good news. So, I went to the story and then I followed the link and I went to this, page that Dave is bringing up right now. And I was really frustrated because I couldn't find, how do I comment? How do I comment? It's that little button over there on the right that says comment now.
There you go.
Yeah, that's me.
And it even says due
I'm
October
challenged.
31st.
I'm challenged
No,
on the thing.
you weren't vibrationally attuned to where that button
I
was.
wasn't. So anyway, it's there. So I did that, and I did say holy cannabis oil. I did say that it should be regulated like an agricultural product. Alexis Bortel, thank you for the terminology. And that it should be like kale or tomatoes.
And you also have postcard, because they take things by mail
Yes.
as well, do they not?
Yes, by mail. I also wrote a postcard
So you can make a digital comment, and you can send something through the
so I
snail
happen
mail.
to have these awesome postcards that I made.
Remember these? I remember these.
Yay, I made these awesome postcards.
They're perfect for this.
They are totally perfect because I talk about opioids and cannabis. It's pretty rad. And I have all my sources documented on the back here, which are all like official sources that they'll love to see, like them. And I wrote our little story, like with my mom. And I put a Hanukkah stamp on it because I had it. Anyway, and you have to write the docket number. Got to use the docket number. There's a lot of rules on how to do it, but I'm going to go to our local dispensaries where people are coming in and out all day. And I'm going to bring voter registration forms and my cards here and make sure that everybody knows that they can register to vote by October 22nd in California and check the little vote by mail so that you can always vote no matter what. And send their postcards to the FDA for the comment period. It'll be nice.
The digital, it looks pretty easy to
It's super easy. I did it in 10 seconds once I found the button.
Right.
Because I already have my comment ready in my notes because I write the same comment all the time about my mom. It's a compelling story. It's brief. I haiku'd it, basically. I made it into 4 sentences. So it's good, and they dig it, and I send it wherever I go.
Nice.
So yeah.
Well done. Now,
thank you. You have to do it too now.
I know.
Mister.
Well, I was in the middle
right
of
after the show.
So yeah, I'll do it after the show, and I'll prepare.
I know I made you make a blurb.
I'll prepare my my postcard.
Yeah.
But you can all do that too, guys. So
yes.
do that by October 31st.
Everybody,
get it in. Now, of course, this all has to do with the fact that there is the battle going on between the Democrats and the Republicans over who's going to get the cannabis vote in 2018 and in 2020. And Dana Rohrabacher Blumenauer. They couldn't make it. They couldn't make it any harder to say for a stoner. That's all I have to say. So really that first video we watched at the beginning was from Fox Business News, of course, with Mr. Forbes relenting to the fact that cannabis is going to get taxed in the States. And really that video is attached to this story where Rohrabacher told Fox Business, where I haven't found the video on it yet, which is curious. But the Trump administration has made a solid commitment to fix marijuana regulation. I've been talking to people inside the White House who know and inside the president's entourage. I've talked to them at length. I have been reassured that the president intends to keep this campaign promise. Rohrabacher says that the president has spoken in support of legalizing marijuana on the federal level and leaving the question of recreational marijuana up to the states. Total campaign promise. As you see in our open every week.
Every week. It's like we've been really vibing on that.
Whoa.
For a really long time, haven't we?
Very saucy. Very saucy.
Very, very in attune.
And Trump is a very saucy guy.
He creates his own reality, and he really, really believes every bit of it. I wish he would stop saying the name.
His reality is definitely what he perceives.
Say the president instead.
Happy guy.
That's so much better.
We're all happy. We like to be happy guys.
Happy is
always
good.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
So we saw that was Forbes. That was sort of the White House take, because he's an advisor to the Republicans. So he's obviously being dragged by the bulldozer in the cannabis, the road to medical cannabis, recreational cannabis.
It's happening.
But let's this is a pretty great video that is you connected to a story in Marijuana Moment about the battle between the Republicans and the Democrats, which we found in the Cannabis Chronicle Cella. And we got the video of Earl Blumenauer on, I believe this is Fox. It's definitely, is it Fox? Well, let's watch it and find out, shall we? But this is a really great summation of his he's been at this for a while, and he lays it out as to what what I'm believing is going to be happening in this space federally and on states levels over the next few years. So let's watch this video and we'll talk about it on the way other end. Welcome, everybody.
Explain a little bit to us about your district and why this issue of marijuana really resonates with your constituents.
Well, Oregon was the very first state to decriminalize marijuana. Portland, Oregon is reputed to be a progressive community, but actually this is an issue that appeals to conservatives and liberals alike. People understand that the federal regulation of marijuana is flawed. It's not highly addictive. It does have medicinal uses. And we're part of a wave that's taking place around the country where over 30 states have decided by the voters to be opposed to the failed policy of prohibition of marijuana.
So explain to us a little bit about the economics of it. We talked to Governor Hickenlooper recently, and we talked a bit about that. You said on the House Ways and Means Committee, I believe, would this be potentially a source of tax revenue for the federal government?
Well, absolutely. What we will do sometime in the next 5 years, we will be treating it like alcohol. States will be able to regulate it as they see fit, as is happening now, and they'll be able to establish levels of taxation. But the federal government ultimately will have a national tax, which would be a new source of revenue. I hope it will be dedicated to dealing with people with addiction problems. We have a whole array of things that are underfinanced. This is an opportunity, what we should have done with alcohol revenue, to deal with people with alcohol problems, but it will be a not insignificant source of revenue. We're talking about a sector of the economy within 5 to 10 years, which will be as big as the NFL.
So, Congressman, you mentioned federal legislation because people should remember, as some states legalize it, there's still a federal statute that says you can't buy, sell, use marijuana. It's not enforced. Under President Obama, it really wasn't enforced. Under President Trump, they've indicated maybe they're going to liberalize the enforcement policy a little bit. How high a priority would this be for the Democrats, your Democratic Party, in the new Congress, if, in fact, the Democrats take over the House?
Well, what we're going to see this fall is that this is a controversial issue that has the largest source of public support. It's not like health care. It's not like dealing with war and peace, global warming, but it is very important to a lot of people. And what we're going to see is that in Missouri, it's going to pass. In Utah, it's going to pass over the objection of the Mormon Church. It's going to pass in Michigan, continuing this parade of action at the state level. So it's not the most important issue in the world, but it is very consequential. It deals with an opportunity for us to be able to have significant advancements in health care. I mean, states that have medical marijuana have fewer opioid deaths. And the stories I hear about how medical marijuana has transformed people's lives are very, very compelling. And the voters have responded time after time after time, starting in 1996. So there is a public consensus. The support is growing. You'll see it at the ballot box this year. And it's one of the things that a Democratic Congress could do relatively easy because the table has been set. We have more support even with a Republican-dominated Congress. If their leadership would have allowed us to vote on these proposals, we would be passing a number of them now. But with Democrats in control, we will be able to have the legislative process work, and we'll see more progress in a relatively short order, I think.
So let's talk about that leadership and talk about the Democratic leadership, because you have a leader in Nancy Pelosi who has said on the record, not that she's against liberalization, but it is not her priority. She's got a number of other things that are in line ahead of this. Are you going to be able to persuade her otherwise?
I agree with her in terms of top priorities that she's dealing with. But we have many priorities in Congress, and this is something that can move forward relatively quickly. We have a crisis in this country because as more and more states legalize, the federal interference with banking creates a public safety problem, it's a business problem, and it's insane. Forcing these state legal businesses to operate on an all-cash basis. That's not controversial, and it will make a difference right away. I have legislation that would have allowed Veterans Administration to work with veterans in states where medical marijuana is legal. In fact, it passed both the House and the Senate in the last Congress, and the Republican leadership stripped it out. This is ready to go right now. It's not controversial. It's supported by veterans organizations, and it would make a big difference for the health care of American veterans. These things are set up, ready to go. It doesn't have to be the top priority. You just need to let the legislative process work to reflect the priority this has with the American public.
Is this important?
I've been working on this for decades, and we've watched public support grow dramatically, and it's being shown at the ballot box every election.
So given all of that, Congressman, is this an important enough factor for your colleagues, your Democratic colleagues in the House, to take into account with respect to the leadership? You're going to have some leadership changes anyway because Mr. Crowley didn't get past the primaries. There's some people even talking that Nancy Pelosi might be time for her to move over. Is this important enough that it would actually be a factor in people voting for the next leadership team?
Well, the second and third tier issues are not we don't have a stranglehold with Democrats the way the Republicans do. The Republicans have failed to allow us to vote on these things that are popular and supported. They didn't have to make it a top priority. They just didn't have to put the kibosh on it. Democrats going forward on a Judiciary Committee, on a Ways and Means Committee, on Veterans Committee. There are opportunities for them to do this, and these will be some of the easiest things to do in the first 6 months of a new Congress because they're supported by the public. The legislation is already teed up and ready to go. It's one of these areas of progress that will show that we can get our act together and move forward. It doesn't have to be the top priority. It's simpler than health care or global warming, and it's supported by the public. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it moves in the next 6 months.
Yeah, Earl Blumenauer's been at this for a while. And
he has, but the rest of the Dems are totally being dragged into it, dude. I admire his optimism. Yeah, it's great, but the Democrats are like completely 100% dragging their feet about it. And it's totally weird seeing the Republicans being like, yay, Texas, putting it on the platform. It's just totally bizarro.
The leadership better get behind it, or the OG-GOP will definitely take this issue, with the other guy with a funny name, Rohrabacher from California. The Russian. and then we got Earl Blumenauer from Oregon, who's been fighting for this for literally, like he said, decades. And I think he's pretty close on those numbers. We have Trump already on board earlier this year with Cory Gardner and Elizabeth Warren and the States Act.
Dude, campaign promise.
Campaign promise. I'm a states guy. Medical marijuana does some amazing things. I think recreational should be left to the states. If he makes medical marijuana legal federally.
Oh God, let's stop what ifing.
That's what they're talking about. I mean, that's what they're using to get people on their side.
Oh boy.
Okay. So the Democratic leadership better realize what's going on here and follow what Blumenauer says. It's easy peasy. Get it off the plate. Everybody's going to vote for it. The Republicans are going to have to vote for it because they've been talking about it. 62% of the country want recreational marijuana. 99% of the country want medical marijuana. Something like that. It's in the high 90s, depending on what poll you look at.
Ridiculous.
So they better grab it, or it's going to get swept out from under them. And either way, whoever gets into power should be using this as a way to get everybody together on the same page. And
brings everybody together.
You're going to see action. You're going to see it regulated like alcohol, for better or worse, in the states. Except I don't see where you have to get a background check before you buy a 12-pack of beer.
No,
But,
no background check for that.
You know, that's just me. Or an aspirin, or you want to go buy
Xanax.
Get a Xanax. Do they have to do a
No background check.
No.
Nope.
You get a background check when they put you on an opiate?
Nope. Not that I know of.
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy. But Daily Dope, welcome to the show, guys. So yes, Earl Blumenauer, 7 minutes of sweet green gold flowing from the representative from Oregon.
Oregon's beautiful.
Got his finger on the We're looking at Oregon, people.
Oregon's beautiful.
Oregon's on the radar. Bingus, if you join in, let us know if you know any good property. Just saying.
Ashland? What?
Ashland?
Spend a little time there anyway.
There you go. And speaking of opportunities in cannabis, because you know how we are now watching what's going on in the cannabis marijuana money.
Yeah, we're stock marketers now.
Area. We're stock marketers.
Whatever that is.
I'm going to tap into the source of Wall Street, hopefully. But definitely we're interested in, we're watching what's going on in the cannabis world because of the show. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. We've been watching Tilray and Aurora. Aurora we reported last week is about to go on the NASDAQ. Canopy's already there. I think Aurora, I might add that backwards, but I don't think so. But let's watch this video. They may talk about it. And then we'll get into Canada, eh? Beauty.
All right, one last question. Give me the size of what you think of the market that will be disrupted worldwide by cannabis.
Well, the conservative, cautious people say 200 million, and I think the ones that are getting closer to or billion, and the closer to accurate is probably 500 billion, because we disrupt alcohol potentially, cigarettes potentially in terms of smoking cessation and a whole thing. We really disrupt pharmaceutical, because whether or not you're geriatric care, you're dealing with arthritic conditions, you're someone who can't sleep, you're going through an oncology treatment, I think you're going to find cannabinoid therapies really hit there. And so you add all that together, plus the existing 200 billion illicit market, that pretty quickly gets you up around 500 billion. And it sounds like how could it be? But you know, just do a bit of the back of the envelope math. It's not crazy.
And you did mention medical. Yesterday you shipped medical to the U.S. So it is happening right here, right now, isn't it?
Under DEA approval, we shipped for the first time legally, and I highlight legally, cannabis from Canada to the U.S. So the DEA approved partner, which we haven't announced yet, can actually begin to do medical research, clinical trials if necessary, create the data set that enables people to know when, what, where, and maybe it can become federally regulated in the U.S. with some input that way.
No, you can't just ship it into California, my friend.
No.
That was the CEO or CEO something or whatever he is. Mad Money, of course, Jim Cramer. Fair use, education.
We're educating folks on
informative
cannabis.
We claim fair use. They nailed us a couple weeks ago. But I got it back. Exciting. And
because it is fair use.
Too much headroom.
So
so that was Mad Money. Jim Cramer talking to the CE something of Tilray, talking about the cannabis industry disrupting $500 billion in other industries. And I also found it very interesting that in that clip, he talks about the unnamed partner in California, because as we said, they're not going to be able to just ship it to the university. They're going to need probably a licensed something in the state of California to ship to or get it to so that they can deliver it to the university. So that's what the unnamed partner is going to be interesting to see who it is they decide. If it's MedMen or, or whoever, I'm not sure what the parameters need to be. But, MedMen has just exploded with the largest investment so far in, an American cannabis business history just happened by MedMen. We have a video. Actually.
The history just started, though.
I know it just started. There's going to be a lot of those broken. It's like the stock prices on these cannabis stocks. But
first ever.
All of the market manipulators, all of these, these funds that rate stocks, and they give They give their, well, we think this stock's going to be here. We think this stock's going to be there. It's going to be, just going to be, they're all like, oh, we may have underestimated the cannabis market.
You think?
And we're just starting to rethink some things. And so let's see. Oh, is that the next video? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so let's see. Oh, I don't have that video.
Which one?
But let's watch the MedMen one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch the MedMen one. Essentially, who is going to be their partner? We don't know. But they are about to export THC and CBD in gel caps for a study in San Diego at a university, completely approved by the federal government and the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Wow.
So,
what a mind-blowing thing.
Deschedule, people. Deschedule.
So yeah, make sure you mention that in your comments to the FDA and the WHO.
This is not just CBD. This is THC.
And resin and all the things.
Scheduled 1 on the CSA, being imported by a Canadian company, imported to some unnamed company to provide it for a university in San Diego to do clinical trials. Amazing. Craziness. So that's going to change. Welcome, trimmers. Welcome, trimmers. It's trimming time in the country.
'Tis the season for bud trimming.
Welcome, everybody. Put us on in the background. This is DC 420 LA, the Week in Weed, every Sunday at 420 Pacific. Subscribe, get notifications, like, share. We're also streaming live on Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, DLive, Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. And I think that's it. I think I covered everybody. So welcome, everybody, to the show. Let us know where you're watching. Let us know what you're smoking. And share the show. And welcome, everybody. Got lots of our regulars jumping in. Great to see everybody in the chat with Chella as we move on to this quick little story by Watch It Business about what's going on with MedMen.
According to Business Insider, high-end marijuana retailer MedMen just spent $682 million on the largest U.S. cannabis acquisition in history. MedMen is one of the booming cannabis industry's most recognizable brands and just recently acquired medical marijuana retailer PharmaCann in a $682 million stock transaction. It's the largest cannabis acquisition in the U.S. to date. The acquisition gives the combined firm access to 79 retail and cultivation licenses in 12 states.
I love the beautiful bud footage the media gets.
It is pretty nice.
Oh, the bud B-roll. So there you go. 680 million or something like that. It's just the largest stock investment in a cannabis business. No stopping this train. That is MedMen. Of course, they're going to be the Starbucks of cannabis.
Yeah.
They are basically the epitome of corporate cannabis.
Yeah.
Is MedMen. And hopefully they start...
God bless them.
Yeah. Hopefully they start using that power in the market for good.
Yeah.
And lobby to get us some compassionate laws here passed in California. Vegan Metro, I'm vaping strawberry banana. This strain is no joke. Having a fun time trying to type now. Ha, very good. Strawberry banana. We'll have to put that on the list and see if we get it at our collectives. Yes, Chella.
The Stallion.
Oh, the Stallion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the question in the chat.
Why wouldn't this is the Stallion Mang? Where are you
Mang?
from, Stallion? Why wouldn't they procure it from here in the States? He must be from here in the States. Well, excellent question. The answer is it's on the Schedule 1 of drugs of the Controlled Substances Act. THC is on the same list with heroin, with no medical use, and is highly addictive, so they say. Despite the fact, well, they don't really have a patent for that. They have a patent for CBD, but
They do for THC.
There are patents for THC.
Yeah. 6.
Yeah, the number. Yeah. Just for the whole plant, right? So it's basically it's on the Schedule 1 of drugs. So nobody can use it for research in any state. The only marijuana that can be used for research is currently grown in Mississippi. A bunch of ragweed they're growing in Mississippi. Which is a
it
shame.
wasn't high quality enough for the study, and because Canada is ahead of us in legalization, they have labs and testing and quality control and all these things already ready already.
That's right.
And that's why the University of San Diego or whatever it was.
The studies that are done here in the United States with the approved weed is terrible. They can't get good stuff. There's more supposedly coming online. But as of right now, you can't get any good research cannabis in the States until it's descheduled. So that should be maybe included in the comments with the FDA, perhaps.
Yes.
Considering what's going on with Tilray and the importation.
Oh, yes. The United States is going to be behind.
Exactly. Well, that's what Matt Gaetz of Florida, he's like, this is nuts. You know,
this is nuts.
This is nuts that we're importing there's plenty of high-grade cannabis, legal
super nuts.
high-grade cannabis in California. So, but because of the federal status, they can't import it. Now, we've also been importing industrial hemp for years because it's been illegal to grow in the United States and use. But you can bring it in from China and from Canada to make your industrial hemp products. And that's going to change in the 2018 Farm Bill as soon as it gets to the Orange Julius Caesar's desk. But he'll sign that.
Oh, yeah.
He'll sign it.
Yep.
And it's not even an issue. The removal of industrial hemp from the CSA is not even an issue anymore.
No.
And all 50 states are soon going to be growing industrial hemp if they want to. So, but as far as research, no bueno. Cannot use United States, California cannabis, organic or otherwise. Hopefully that answers your question. Oregon. Exactly. Or Oregon. State of Oregon is now trying to pass a law to export their excess cannabis, their awesome excess cannabis, to other legal states. So watch for that. We're keeping an eye on that story up in Oregon. We're keeping an eye on a lot of things up in Oregon right now. So thanks for the question, Stallion Mang. It is silly that they're doing that. So tell your representative that this is crazy, that we should be using good American cannabis.
Yes.
For this research.
Yes.
Yes, Jill is correct. Israel is the leader in cannabis research.
Well, I was just riffing off of Daily Dope. Likely it's about that 1 degree of separation that the DEA always has with cannabis research. Previously, U.S. and Canadian companies did research in Israel, and we paid for that.
That's right.
And Israel is the leader in cannabis research. It's kind of amazing.
Well, you know, we're starting to get some of that benefit back now.
It's true.
At least here in Southern California, which is kind of exciting.
It is.
So there you go. MedMen, pumping it in. There was one story this week out of, I don't think it actually was in the Chronicle, but it came out, it was on the Motley Fool. I'm following trading things now, but especially for cannabis. They're saying basically there's one reason. I tweeted it out. There's one reason that cannabis is going to stay, and it's going to be descheduled, and things are changing, and that's because Coke and Pepsi and the beer companies are involved. Constellation is in. Coke is in. Pepsi is looking at it critically. These major brands are on board, and they see the potential. They see where it's going. They see the CBD drink industry, its potential. It's going to cross over. We predicted a year ago, or I've talked about this anyway, that eventually the medical would surpass recreational once the buzz of recreational is over in the States. And that probably looks like what's going to happen. It looks like medical's going to win out. We just have to make sure it doesn't get absorbed by big pharma, and you're still allowed to grow your plants, in your backyard. Grow your own organic medicine and your kale, your cannabis / kale in your backyards. Let's move into Canada, eh?
Yes, eh? Shall we?
Because we're covering
it's a big week for Canada.
3 days and counting. 3 days to the legalization.
Is anyone going to Canada for the big day?
We contemplated it. Yeah,
if we had a little more active flow, and if other things weren't happening, my mom's happening.
And if we would have gone to BC.
Yeah, where there was only one Well, you'll see.
Where apparently there's not a lot of cannabis going to be available on October 17th.
Unless it's a civil disobedience thing, and I would super totally buy from the, from those little open markets, like outside the museum.
I'd say there's going to be still plenty of those.
I think that's the place to buy it.
It's going to be a giant party. There'll be a bunch of markets, but to actually go in to do a shop. All right, let's check out some of these stories from our friends up north who have, of course, just legalized cannabis, and the big day is 3 days away. So let's see how they're handling it in the Great White North, eh? Beauty, you hosers.
We have worked over the past 3 years with provincial governments across this country to move forward on a regime that controls and regulates the sale of marijuana.
Pot may be legal come October 17th, but where you live in Canada is going to determine exactly what that means for you. Across the country, the minimum age for buying and consuming marijuana is either 18 or 19, depending on where you live. That could change, though, in Quebec. Its new CAQ government wants to raise the minimum age from 18 to 21. Only 2 governments are completely hands-off sales, Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Private stores will sell marijuana there. In 5 jurisdictions, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and Yukon, the provincial government will control all sales. The rest are a mix, usually with private store sales and government-run online sales. A heads up for people living in BC and Ontario, only 1 store will be open in Kamloops, BC on legalization day. And in Ontario, users can only order product online until stores open in April. Now, most provinces say you can light up wherever cigarette smoking is permitted, but certain public spaces where you'd expect to find a lot of kids, like parks and playgrounds, they're prohibited. 4 jurisdictions have chosen to crack down, though, on public use, restricting it to private property and private residences. But if you don't own your home, you may not have any options. For example, in an apartment building, a landlord can forbid a tenant from smoking up. And if you live in a condo, well, condo boards can also pass policies forbidding smoking up too. The federal government set a limit of 4 plants per household. Most provinces and territories followed that advice, but 2 provinces, Quebec and Manitoba, defied the order and are banning homegrown marijuana.
At the top, at the red light.
Cannabis will be legal next week, but for the Alberta RCMP, nothing has changed. Mounties today show the old-fashioned way.
With the tip. So we're looking for signs of non-sober behavior. So that could be simple things like glossy-eyed, slurred speech, poor coordination, inability to divide their attention among doing multiple tasks at the same time.
As of right now, RCMP don't have the controversial roadside marijuana test, the Drager 5000. While many Canadian police forces across the country will be using it, Alberta RCMP will be equipped with 4 devices. Here's how the whole process works. If the device detects marijuana in the saliva, the driver will be required to provide a urine or blood sample. If more than 2 nanograms of THC is found, drivers could be facing serious charges. RCMP say the devices are merely a screening tool, like a breathalyzer for alcohol. The result does not provide evidence to convict a driver. However, their blood THC level will. And that has one criminal defense lawyer questioning this whole process.
Destroy someone's career and cost them their livelihood.
His concerns are over the new impaired driving laws, which set out specific limits, the amount of THC drivers can legally have in their blood while behind the wheel. If drivers are over 2 nanograms of THC, there could be serious charges. Unlike alcohol, THC can stay in the body for days, even weeks. Hurley expects charter challenges with the new laws.
But even the blood testing, as we've discussed, is problematic because there's no clear science that 2 nanograms per cent is going to impair someone.
A lot of drivers could be affected. According to Stats Canada, over the first 9 months of 2018, 1 in 7 cannabis users with a driver's license reported driving within 2 hours of using. Police in Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal won't be changing the way they catch stoned drivers. Meanwhile, RCMP say refusing to take a roadside marijuana test will be similar to refusing a breathalyzer, which can result in a license suspension or even jail time. In Edmonton, Rochelle Sufi, City News.
Well, an empty storefront like the one you're seeing here.
Yeah, the nonogram. How can they set those limits? All that is crazy. And this legalization, because as we're all commenting on in the chat that, it's more illegal now that it's legal, right, quote unquote, as you like to say all the time. That's totally true. And we're all going to have to wade through this time of bullshit because Dave and I were talking before the show. If our blood was tested,
forget about
we'd have a real problem. Just like when we wake up in the morning, before we've smoked anything or taken anything.
We could fast for a month.
We ride high on the THC in our blood all the time and we function perfectly fine.
You, scientifically speaking, and I get this from the Google. It was actually some report. WebMD. No, from some report. You reach your peak, and smokers and aficionados in the chat, let me know. They say you reach your peak high 9 minutes after your ingestion of your smoking. Right. We're talking smoking it.
Yeah.
You reach your peak, and then it begins to diminish from there. Whether it's dabbing or smoking or whatever there. So whereas alcohol, your peak is 2 hours after you've consumed alcohol.
Right. That's why, exactly.
That's why they've come up with this bullshit 2 hour number.
Yeah, they think that alcohol and pot are the same and they're not at all the fucking same. And it's so fucking irritating.
If Spicoli's window, spews out a cloud of cannabis smoke, you might have a case of impairment. If he shows impairment, not all the time.
Yeah.
But certainly if it's a saliva test.
Yeah. Look, even my mom, the Alzheimer's patient, 20 minutes after she had a couple of hits, she needed to get high again.
Right.
That's just what it is. It loses its effectiveness after about 20, 30 minutes. They really need to work this out better.
Now, high dose edibles, but microdosing,
that's different.
Same thing. Yeah. Same thing with microdosing.
They don't know.
It's gonna be in your bloodstream if you're microdosing cannabis every day. If you're taking small doses, milligrams, 5 to 10 milligrams of cannabis, mints, 2 milligrams, whatever, you're gonna build up THC in your bloodstream. And it's gonna show up on a test.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as they start, there's rumors they're gonna start. What are they called? Checkpoints.
Fuck you. You want me to stay home?
Checkpoints for cannabis.
How's that?
So
it's Alyssa Strata of, you don't want potheads to leave the house? No problem. I can get my weed delivered. Food, yes, and everything else.
From our local collective, the Green Earth Collective, just
That's
half a mile away here down on York in Highland Park.
Last night we went down to York for street food, vegan street food for Dave's birthday. And of course there was a million street things out there. All the good stuff was happening. And it was art night in Highland Park. And we met 3 wonderful ladies from the Green Earth Collective. We met Evelyn and Coco and Luciana. Yep, Luciana.
Yeah.
So we met and chatted with all of them and it was really delightful. And we're hoping that we'll be able to do some stuff with them at their space on York, right there in the middle of everything. They have a really great space to work from, and they have a wonderful collective that we've been to. We've spoken to. Yeah, we've done a review or two. Pretty sure we did 2.
Yeah, I won't play it now.
Yeah, but anyway, so that was fun. So we went out to your local community, folks, and support your traditional market wherever you can. We have a couple of vendors out on the street there that do some traditional vending, and I always think that it's very exciting and cool.
Traditional vending.
Yeah. Traditional vending.
Yeah, but that was a great encounter. That was a great meeting of co-creators.
Yeah.
Hopefully that portends for some exciting collaboration.
Yeah.
And co-creation.
It'll be fun.
In the future.
Yeah.
So let's continue
We're
on with
still
our next...
Abraham Hicksing, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, it's all we listen to now.
So much better.
So much better.
Yeah.
Don't resist the Trump. It'll just keep him.
Don't. Just don't even say it.
Okay, so let's move on. We're still in Canada. Eh? We got a couple of more stories in Canada. Then we'll move on to our first American block. Let's check out the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just days away from marijuana being legalized across Canada, and the United States is making an important change that will impact people who work in the cannabis industry across our country. They will no longer be automatically barred from entering the U.S. The American Customs and Border Protection Agency has now updated its position on Canadian employees or investors involved in the legal cannabis market. It now says they will be considered generally admissible to the country as long as their travel has nothing to do with the marijuana business. If the trip is pot work related, they may still be denied entry. This is a big step back, though, from the initial American stance, which threatened a lifetime ban for anyone working in the sector. The news is being welcomed by organizations like the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, which says it's glad those who work in a legal business in our country can still visit Disney World with their families. Although marijuana companies that have dealings in the States will have to adapt with Skype meetings instead of face-to-face interactions, which may be strange since some are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Meanwhile, U.S. politicians from border states say they're working hard to try and prevent any problems with people and goods crossing the border.
I believe this problem will get resolved over time. The rate of time it takes is largely dependent on the election results in the next 3 weeks in our federal government and in the year 2020.
Now, if you're a simple cannabis consumer, there's still some haze around admissibility. While some states have legalized the drug, it's still illegal federally, and border agents will have to make a determination on a case-by-case basis. I will point out as well that it's still illegal to cross the border with any amount of marijuana on you, so if you are heading south, you might want to leave the stash at home. In Ottawa, Cormac McSweeney, City News.
So in terms of the target price changes, this is a really good opportunity for us to go back to first principles, right? And
Okay, so Ottawa. Breaking it down for us there.
Ottawa.
About traveling to the United States.
Don't cross the border with weed, eh?
You can travel from province to province, but don't cross the border.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be plenty of people doing that.
Same in California.
And I think this is where you're going to find your checkpoints. Maybe, who knows? But
Canada had to get legal. Canada's in their name.
Canada's in their name. That's true. Canada. They have to change their name now. They have to add an N.
Well, they have to add an N.
They have to add an N in their name.
Canada.
But speaking of Canada, we were talking about Tilray and the importation of the drug, the heinous Schedule I drug into California for clinical trials, which cost billions of dollars to do, people. This is we reported, we talked about it a little bit last week, I think, that Cowen, which is a hedge fund or some stock thing. I don't know, some what do they call it? Investor group. I don't know. I can't think of the name because I'm high. But don't blame it on that. Don't blame it on that. That's a short-term memory. But it gets better immediately. And you talk a lot when you're on Blue Dream drops too. So I'll try to get through this to the video from the CEO of Cowen.
We're still in Canada.
Who has re-rated the target price of Tilray. It opened at IPO at $17.
Oh, those speculators?
The speculators. They speculated that it was going to go to 60.
Those capitalist speculators don't know anything about weed.
It went to 140, stayed there, and then now they've changed their mind. So this is the video of she was on Squawk Box talking about that. So here's a clip of that.
So in terms of the target price changes, this is a really good opportunity for us to go back to first principles, right? And think about the durability of disruption. This is something that my franchise has been known for in terms of calling for the bourbon renaissance, or so does the new cigarette. But, obviously, like with cannabis, you're talking about this massive step change in terms of the addressable market, right? We're bringing a $7 billion illicit market, into the legal market. And so it does require a different valuation framework. And so what we've done is applied an enterprise value to sales multiple and then factored in revenue growth, because we're looking for like a 75% CAGR on Canopy and 100% CAGR on Tilray.
Compound annual growth rate.
Over the next 5
Did
years,
you say
which are just
CAGR?
astronomical. And so that's what you want to really factor in from a valuation standpoint. As we think ahead in terms of catalysts for the stocks, obviously supply is going to be critical. One company that we don't cover, Afria, talked about earlier this week, they're going to be short. And, that is a concern.
What is the driver in terms of the pickup in supply, and what will be the driver of revenue growth? Will it be more on the recreational side, not just in Canada, but around the world, or will it be more on the medical cannabis side, especially after we saw GW Pharma with its drug, Epidiolex, get rescheduled? So the treatment of cannabis will be different in the eyes of the FDA.
Yeah, so in the near term, it's definitely adult use. While you are seeing the dominoes fall increasingly quickly outside of North America as it relates to medical, it takes time for those markets to onboard. So, for instance, Germany, which accounts for about 15% of Canopy's revenues already, is a very, very tight market. And it's increasingly tight because the Canadian LPs are trying to get all the inventory stocked into Canada. So as the adult use market comes online, that's catalyst number one. Catalyst number two down the road is definitely medical internationally.
Yeah, holy cannabis oil. The shorts were out. The shorts have been out like crazy on these.
It's going to be years before it stabilizes, because the stuff has to be on the market for a while before everybody knows what it does. And then once it's on the market for a while and is doing well, then everybody's going to buy it more. So those shorty guys are going to be good for a while.
Well, these
be very happy.
There's going to be a ride in a couple of days. I think we're going to see the market's probably going to see some fluctuation tomorrow. But I found it interesting. You see the stock there, Tilray, its chart in the first week of October, I think it was really. That it jumped on that notice that the DEA said, "Yeah, bring it on. You can go ahead and come into the United States." The shorts came out, pump and dump, some called it, but it went up to, I think, almost $400 a share.
Wild.
There, yeah, at some point. Definitely 300. It went over 200. We knew it was that, but it was like up around 300, over $300 and $400. And then it dropped back down, and now it's at 131, and they've changed their target from 60 to 172 for Tilray. All the other
I think
stocks,
that's about right. Coca-Cola and
starting to get on
Corona.
board. Well, 3 days, the Canadian stocks are going to go nuts. The rest of the few American stocks like ours still holding on. I mean, it had one of those spikes the same day.
Mm-hmm.
When that all happened, when the CBD news started coming through, and this all happened in the same week, essentially. So there was a lot of activities on these stocks, and we're still up 1,100% from our buy. So,
and it's not even for the thing that we bought it for.
Right, exactly. So anyway, so that's my new thing. I'm up at 1 a.m. Pacific now watching the stock market, or at least I'd say I will be, and I don't always make it, but that's having fun watching that. But so watch out the next couple of weeks. We'll see how the market does tomorrow, but this next week with legal up there in Canada, and it's going to continue to be a wild ride. So
it's a very exciting time, everybody.
I think people are underestimating what this industry is going to do.
I think everybody in this chat would agree.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Daily Dope's in there. He knows this is going to be, it's big, and there's no stopping it, and it's going to be okay. So we're out of Canada, moving down south, moving into the good old US of A.
Let's do it since Daily Dope's here. Why don't we do the Midwest?
Let's do it. Sounds great. Let's roll with Midwest. We're going to...
sorry. Did you want to do the national block?
We did a national block.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
We did. That was Earl Blumenauer.
Oh, yeah, Blumenauer. It was a little shorty guy.
Yeah, and some
Short national block.
U.S. and Jim Cramer there, the national.
I forgot.
It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's what we're here for. All right, let's roll through a couple of Midwest stories. We're going to start in Ohio, Daily Dope, and then we'll move into Michigan. So let's see what's going on. A pot plant grows in Ohio. It's so exciting. The very first pot plants ever to grow in Ohio, apparently, are now growing there. So let's see what's going on. Because medical marijuana is sort of coming, kind of.
Ohio is one step closer to medical marijuana on store shelves. In fact, there are now plants in the ground 1 hour outside of downtown Cincinnati.
You can see some of them right here behind us. But we're also asking what the delays in the Ohio's program actually mean for these cultivators. Evan Millward is in Yellow Springs, taking us inside Southwest Ohio's first cultivator.
We just remove anything that might be drawing energy from their ability to grow efficiently.
Nakaya Angelique is a stickler for little details. She is tending to 700 young marijuana plants at Cresco Labs, the largest company licensed to grow in Ohio.
That's medicine, right? When you take a Tylenol, you expect to have the same reaction or the same effect every time you take that Tylenol, and that's what we want to do with cannabis products.
The company operates in 6 states and takes security very seriously, allowing only invited guests in for a behind-the-scenes look today. Guests like veteran Michael Ferguson,
very frustrated,
who is eagerly awaiting his state-issued card and an open dispensary so he can legally treat his PTSD. Another vet recommended he try cannabis.
It was 5 years ago, and so now I take no medications whatsoever from the VA.
The state started setting up its program in 2016. It set a September deadline for products on shelves, but now even the patient registry is still on hold because there's no product yet. Only 10 cultivators are cleared so far to grow. But things look different from Cresco Labs' perspective.
In the grand scheme of how these programs unfold and become operational, Ohio is better than average.
Local State Representative Rick Perales.
We've put some tall guardrails around the medical marijuana program because we want to make sure it does what it's supposed to do and it doesn't get to where it shouldn't.
Back inside Cresco's $15 million facility, it could still be months before patients like Ferguson can get these products, because these plants are just a few weeks old.
As you can see, this is still a little bit early in the process. Cresco Labs expects to have products in dispensaries in Ohio just after the first of the year. In Yellow Springs, I'm Evan Millward, 9 on your side.
And now a new kind of Ohio harvest. The first pieces of Ohio's first medical marijuana crop are drying out in a facility at the southern tip of the state.
Only News 5 got a first look at the first marijuana crops in the
did
state.
he say crap?
And new tonight, News 5's Kevin Barry explains how some of the trailblazers are from right here in Ohio.
Trailblazers.
He said crap.
A few feet from the more traditional American farmland,
It's very exciting.
workers are harvesting a different kind of crop. AgriMed, Ohio is among the first in the state to grow marijuana legally. Cultivation manager Justin Matherly and compliance manager Lauren McKay are leading the charge.
It's exciting and it's very tiring.
It was a whirlwind process.
A whirlwind born from the pain that AgriMed Ohio owner Todd McKay says can be avoided with the plants in these rooms.
We've all been affected one way or another.
He says his company was created by people from all different backgrounds in Ohio and West Virginia. One constant is they all had relatives who died from cancer.
We just watched a lot of people suffer, and in the end, they perished.
But they saw the benefit when some relatives got medical marijuana.
It was a big difference.
AgriMed Ohio got help completing the application and getting state approval from companies in states that already have medical marijuana. Then they broke ground in the winter to get the building up and seeds in the ground, all without the promise of making any money until Ohio patients can buy their product.
Well, really, we haven't got to sit back and enjoy any impact yet.
What they can enjoy is being one of the first to harvest their crops. This is history in Ohio. Legal cannabis starting its way through a state process that isn't even fully formed yet.
It's crazy actually because we have
does
limited
look like
space
crap.
and we're only allowed to have product for so long in our safe storage.
They're getting ready to store large amounts of what's grown in their building because no one is ready for it yet. State licenses haven't been approved for the labs to test the batches or for processors who turn the plants into what's sold at dispensaries.
We're hoping that one or two processors get to market because we're going to have product.
Before then, cultivators can apply for a limited license that will allow them to sell some basic products directly to the dispensaries, but exactly when you'll see it on a dispensary shelf is still only a guess. In Langsville, I'm Kevin Barry, News 5.
Yeah, he definitely said crap at the beginning, but it's pretty close to crap.
Maybe there was
Crap.
a typo in the teleprompter.
I bet it was. I totally, that's what it was. It's crap. Crap kind of just sounds like crap.
Do you like my blunt?
What's that?
My blunt
Brooch?
brooch.
Yes, I love the
Cute,
blunt
yeah.
brooch.
We just got it from Tocati. I'm very excited about it. I do love wearing my cannabis apparel.
I'm not wearing my Bud boutonniere because
It wouldn't
I would
show
lose
up
it here.
at all. And I have my weed earrings on.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you do. Very good. Yes.
I love them.
We're
These are
out
from
of the cannabis closet, people.
These are from Yellow Owl Collective. I love them.
Hint, hint.
I'm just saying. They're $20 earrings.
Looking for sponsors for DC 420.
Oh
LA.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're
Doesn't
so
have to be
cute.
cash. Could be stuff.
I love unicorns and rainbows.
There you go.
They got them.
All right, this is a great little story. We're moving in. So we're out of Ohio. We're moving into Michigan. Yes, apparently a couple of comments from Ohio, Holy Cannabis Oil. Ohio not known for its weed, apparently. And agrees with the big players looking into the cannabis market. Yeah, they have no idea what they're doing. So they're calling people that do. This is obvious. Cosmic Lettuce. Lurking and working. Welcome. Work hard and high, brother. Work hard and high. Let's listen to this great little video about some farmers working hard, trying to get medicine to folks in Michigan. And I'm just going to add a little gain on this because it's a quiet little video. And here we go.
Oh, watch out, vegans. Avert your eyes.
Avert your eyes, vegans.
In 2008, my father started helping my Aunt Linda with breast cancer. It helped her get through her chemo treatments. It didn't cure her cancer, but it helped her eat and get through the nausea and all other symptoms of the chemo. So I've seen that as a young kid and thought that was pretty cool. Dad's helping people that are sick, and weed's a low talked about or not talked about thing. It's something that people are scared to do, so I thought that was kind of cool. He was taking that extra leap to kind of do that, and then as I got older I became my own caregiver and grew my own cannabis because I didn't want chemicals put on it or it grown in a basement where it's moldy. I kind of wanted it regulated to my own standards, which is a little bit higher than the average person, so did it that way for 3 more years, and then once I turned 21 I was kind of already in the situation where I should help people because of me doing it clean, me doing it proper. I had people telling me I should help other people with it. So I grew cannabis for 5 other patients now is what I currently do, and some of them have terminally ill problems and some of them have problems that have gotten better since they started using cannabis. They don't all smoke weed. It's not used like it used to be in the 70s. It's not joint after joint, hippies out listening to music. It's more topical oils, Rick Simpson oil. You can put it in capsule form, so it's just like taking a Vicodin or whatever else the doctors prescribe out there.
That's so cool.
Story from MLive.
I love that they showed the people what's going on there. Just working away, like I imagine our trimmer friends are doing right now.
Yeah, I wonder if,
while they're listening to us.
If Brent knows those guys. Doing some good work. Good look. Now that's some good looking cannabis too.
That's some good looking weed.
Yeah, that's a good looking.
Not like that sad weed from Ohio. Sad weed.
Meanwhile, of course, we know in Michigan, it's one of the states where recreational is on the ballot, and it's going to win, and it's going to win big. As we will play let me turn this gain off. We'll watch this video, and then we're going to hear a little bit from our travel guru, Rick Steves, making his way through Michigan. But here is a libertarian, Bill Gelino. I believe he's running for office. Daily Dope, help me out. What is Bill the Libertarian running for? But he's got a pretty cool opinion on liberté, as he should, by his name. So let's see what he has to say. Also from MLive. Thank you, MLive.
If recreational marijuana is legalized, what, if any, additional regulations would you put in place?
Actually, I'd like to see more of them repealed. And I want to shift just slightly off this in that I want to make sure we understand that I and nobody in my party believes in irresponsible use of marijuana any more than we would believe in irresponsible use of alcohol or any other substance. But, you know, for someone who's somewhat of a Boy Scout on this, having never smoked marijuana or really had any interest in doing so, it's been a real learning curve for me, learning about the entire culture of marijuana and its history and how did it get to where we are. And there's, you know, that's an hour discussion easily. But certainly we want to make sure that we have whatever methods are in place to make sure that if people drive while high, that they're subject to the same kinds of fines that people who are drinking and driving. So that I think speaks for itself. What troubles me is more on the law we already have in place that we passed in 2008 with almost 2/3 of the taxpayers voting for that. And that is medical marijuana. And I've learned an awful lot about people who have these needs. And right now, caregivers are going through a terror of the new regulations that they're trying to put in place to make sure that people aren't handling. And most of the people in the administration who know nothing about these plants, trying to regulate CBD oil as the same as marijuana is just foolhardy. And they're putting an awful lot of people who need these medicines in a real tough spot. And so it is something that I think needs a lot more discussion, but mostly I think we need to go back to where people are left alone.
Well, I don't know who he is either, but I agree with him.
At least he knows the difference between CBD and full flower, or that there is a difference.
He needs a little education on some things. But
he's a libertarian, though. He's not. I would like to change the political system from a duopoly to a instant runoff voting and proportional representation.
Indeed, indeed.
So when we take over, that's what it's going to be. Just saying.
You know, it's like sort of like that's like the he says another right. That's the libertarian line. That's all. They're for profit, you know, let states do what they want. No, nothing new there. But hey, we'll take it. We'll take the support. This is why it's 62%, people.
Yeah.
The independents are on board. And the libertarians are on board.
Yeah, people who don't use cannabis are on board with other people being able to use cannabis if they want to.
That's right. For medicine. And you know who else who's still on board? Because apparently, this young man has smoked enough cannabis to raise his vibration, to change his ways. And we're talking, of course, about Snoop Dogg, who has a cannabis company.
He's pretty aligned.
I think he owns it. Isn't High Tide? No.
He is pretty aligned.
Mary Jane is
Snoop Dogg has always been very aligned.
Always aligned with Source. But he's found the error of his ways, and he has given up the green crack.
No, he hasn't.
Just kidding.
He's just singing gospel music.
I kid.
That's all.
He's given up the gangster ways, is what the mainstream media is putting it.
He's a businessman. Implying that gangsters aren't business people? Sorry, but
all right. Well, let's see what.
pretty
But
businessy.
he's making the rounds in Michigan, and he has some opinions about legalization. So let's see what he's got to say from this report on WXYZ TV Detroit.
All right, one of the most famous supporters of legalized marijuana is in town right now as Michigan voters face a November decision.
Snoop Dogg says he's all for the proposal on recreational pot, but 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell tells us that's not his only message.
Today, Snoop Dogg was in town promoting his new gospel music and play. And we decided to ask him about marijuana as Michigan voters work to decide whether or not to legalize recreational marijuana. He had plenty to say. Today at Cobo Center, Detroit hosted the first ever Michigan Commercial Cannabis Convention and Expo. Since Snoop Dogg owns a marijuana company called Leafs by Snoop, one might assume that's why he came to town. You'd assume wrong. He came to town to promote his gospel music and play, Redemption of a Dog, coming to the Detroit Music Hall later this month.
I don't care what nobody says or what it does to my image or my reputation, because that's not important as this message is.
Snoop Dogg says he has evolved, taking his music from gangster to gospel.
Anybody and everybody can be redeemed. We all make mistakes, we all do things wrong, but can you fix it and get it right?
Still, he weighed in on Proposal 1.
Crime rate has dropped. They take some of their finances and they invest it into the school systems. And
Plus, he says it will bring him business, for example, from his company.
if it fits the bill, then it will be here in the D.
Don't be duped by the dope.
Monica Anthony saw Snoop Dogg's comments and had to speak out. She says crime rates have actually gone up in communities where recreational marijuana has been legalized.
Every statistic and ill that can happen because of that
Where's
has been seen in the 8 or 9 states, including D.C., that have legalized it.
She says Proposal 1 is not well written. The tax dollars will be hard to collect, and it legalizes a new age, extra potent pot in any form.
It's not your Woodstock. It's not your dad's weed.
We'll have more information about this proposal at our website, WXYZ.com. Kim Russell, 7 Action News.
I'm really happy it's not my dad's weed anymore, by the way. Holy Cannabis Oil. I would love to see him swing the whole rap scene over to one that talks about respect and how to earn it instead of degradation and how to cap people. Good point.
There are other people in the world who do
rap.
Michael
that's not
Franti.
like that too. Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
There's some others. Anyway,
there's high level rap. There's high level rap. But you know, he ain't getting any younger, Mr. Dog, and and he's an entrepreneur, as it said in his lower third, and his company was at that job fair. And here's a little story about that job fair.
Deaths. The number of people using medical marijuana has skyrocketed in the last year.
How much? 83%. That's in 1 year. Public Health says 20,000 more people applied for medical marijuana cards this year. WCI3's Raquel Martin is live in our Springfield newsroom. Raquel, those numbers are just the start. This industry is only expected to grow.
Jennifer, yes, that's because anyone soon will be able to get their hands on medical marijuana if they're prescribed opioids. Now, patients will also no longer have to undergo extensive background checks or fingerprint scans. Now, that part of the law actually goes into effect this August. That's when the bill was signed. Now, those in the industry believe that's why numbers are growing so quickly. I talked to a dispensary outreach coordinator here in Springfield. They've seen an uptick of 400 new patients just in the last few months. Right now, across the state, roughly 46,000 people are now using medical marijuana, and a big part of that is PTSD. Since being added to the list in 2016, numbers have more than doubled, and now it's the most common reason people are applying for a card.
I think what you see in a lot of our patients, is people who have tried everything to feel better. And they have not found that thing that will make them feel better. So they are willing to try anything that will give them more of a relief. That's why so many people gravitate towards cannabis.
Should have started there.
Some doctors are still wary of the option, fearing that high THC levels could create new addictions. Most medical marijuana shops have options with almost no THC to avoid that problem. Now, I'm told the law expanding marijuana, medical marijuana here in the state could go into effect as soon as December. And as far as addiction goes, the Department of Public Health tells me that when it comes to prescribing medical marijuana, that's simply up to the doctor to make that call. For now, live in the Capitol Newsroom, Raquel Martin, WCIA3, your local news leader.
Okay. Lots more people are going to be asking doctors to make that call. Thank you. Now, follow up to.
Sorry, that was a job fair not in Michigan, which apparently there was one. There was a convention, but that was a job fair in Illinois for the medical marijuana industry there, where, of course, as reported, you can get on the devil's lettuce for opiates, and it won't kill you. But apparently it will send you to hell. Let's see. Oh, wait. Let's see. Brian Arbor watching this and the Patriots game, and I'm smoking. Wow, how do I do it? That's because cannabis smokers are very good at multitasking, especially when they're on a good terpene mix that allows that type of high.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
We love the terpenes. It's all about the terpenes now. This is just another big marketing fazool, like CBD, or is it? I like this idea of I want to go to that Terpene Institute in L.A. Apparently it's not in L.A.
It's not in L.A.
Story.
I don't think we didn't show that story. We dumped that story.
Because of the poor reporting.
Yeah, because the Terpene Institute is in Denver.
In Canada.
And it's not terpene, it's trichome.
And they're trying to pawn off weed sommeliers when we all know they are interpreters.
Interpreters.
Interpreters, not sommeliers.
They're interpreters.
Marijuana sommeliers. How non-creative.
The Trichome Institute did not tell him that they're called interpreters, apparently.
Right. Apparently not. But let's move on, shall we, to this story.
Coverage of November's election continues tonight.
Okay. This story from Missouri. KOLR. Missouri.
Coverage of November's election continues tonight. A quick reminder, tomorrow is the last day you can register to vote on November 6th. You'll see several medical marijuana measures on that ballot. Color 10's Jesse Inman joins us now with the latest twists and turns surrounding this issue. Jesse.
Well, Heather, the potential legalization of medical marijuana in Missouri comes in the form of 3 choices on ballots this November. Amendment 2, a veteran-centered initiative by the group New Approach Missouri. Amendment 3, geared at funding a medical research facility, and it's backed by Springfield attorney and physician Brad Bradshaw. And Proposition C, which would fund many services like education and law enforcement. And voters have now less than a month to educate themselves on the differences between those 3 measures. And that could make Missouri the 31st state to allow medical marijuana. For Missouri medical marijuana measures, it was a fierce summer in the courtroom. Dr. Brad Bradshaw, who backs Amendment 3, sued to have the other 2 initiatives thrown off the ballot, challenging the validity of their petition signatures. That attempt failed and was dismissed at multiple levels. This is what you'll see on your November ballots. 3 choices, each with a different tax rate. To break these down, we'll start with Amendment 2. The spokesperson for Amendment 2 is Jack Cardetti, who talks about their goal for getting Amendment 2 passed.
Amendment 2 has a small 4% tax placed on the sale of medical marijuana that'll go towards veterans funding in Missouri, and we think that's critically important.
Brad Bradshaw's Amendment 3 will have a 15% tax rate, and Bradshaw says it will go towards medical funding, and he says people will see more money back on their tax refunds.
The tax will go for medical research and cancer research here in the state of Missouri. It will create tens of thousands of new jobs. It will create an over $1 billion positive economic impact in the state of Missouri, and it will go for income tax refunds eventually, the profits from the cancer research as more and more cancer research is developed.
That research would come from an institute yet to be built, and Bradshaw, being the institute's chair,
run by him,
would have the authority to appoint board members to run it.
It's important to have somebody on the board who can activate the laws and get them rolling immediately, right away, so you don't have to wait several years like you do in other states.
Right here.
But Cardetti with Amendment 2 argues that Bradshaw having that ability could be a bad thing. Amendment 2 would put the power in the hands of an existing agency.
It'll be run and implemented and regulated strictly by the Missouri Department of Health. And we think that that's what's best for patients. The Missouri Department of Health is an existing state agency that's accountable both to the executive branch and the legislative branch.
As for Proposition C, they did not return our calls, but we do know that they propose a 2% tax rate that will fund veterans, drug treatment, education, and safety. And it will leave control to the state's health department, senior services, as well as alcohol and tobacco control.
Now, Jesse, one question we have, what if more than one medical marijuana initiative passes next month?
Yeah, very possible. This is a yes or no vote on all of these issues. So technically, all three of them could be approved with over 50% approval on the yes rather than the no. And here is how that is determined, because only one of those can become law. And if multiples are approved, a constitutional amendment would win over a proposition, which is just a change to the law. So Amendment 2 or 3 would take precedence over Proposition C, and if voters approve both Amendment 2 and 3, the amendment with the most yes votes will be adopted. So with 3 initiatives, there are a lot of aspects to each measure to cover. And if you want to get on our website, ozarksfirst.com, I'll have in this story shortly. You can educate yourselves on those initiatives and learn more about each, things like proposed homegrown rules and qualifying conditions.
More than
Oh wait, I'm Ozark, and I'm confused. I thought that was Missouri. Yeah, the title of this is Missouri's 3 options for medical marijuana.
It is.
Okay, all right. These guys never put their names on their YouTube.
It is Missouri,
on their
right?
YouTube videos,
Yeah.
or where they're from.
That's where Daily Dope is.
No, he's in
No,
Michigan.
Michigan. That's
He's in
Michigan.
That was Missouri.
Daily Dope is saying Bradshaw's crazy. We aren't trying to fund cancer research.
Well, that bill isn't in Missouri either. It's not. It's for veterans, 2%. Had nothing to do with it. I don't know why he brought that up. He just wants a job, Bradshaw.
Bradshaw? No, there is one of those things is for Bradshaw to fund for cancer research.
Oh, one of those
propositions.
One of the propositions.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's got to be Michigan. Is it Missouri?
I'll play the video again. The title of it
Well,
is
Dave and I are confused, so we're going to play it again.
Coverage of November's election continues tonight. A quick reminder, tomorrow is the last day you can register to vote on November 6th. You'll see several medical marijuana measures on that ballot. Color 10's Jesse Inman joins us now with the latest twists and turns surrounding this issue. Jesse.
Well, Heather, the potential legalization of medical marijuana in Missouri
Missouri.
is a form of...
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Missouri. Just making sure.
Yeah, because they're on so many ballots. Yeah. But it's quite there, and apparently there's a whole bunch of them on the ballot in Missouri.
Yeah.
And one of them is going to give Mr. Bradshaw a job.
Yeah. Daily Dope does a lot of great coverage of the Midwest stuff.
Right.
Really, really good, in-depth stuff. He's super knowledgeable in the Midwest goodness.
Yeah, I defer to Daily Dope on
always
almost all things Midwest, especially in Michigan where there was a job fair. I knew there was, and here's that story.
The medical marijuana business is growing with up to 50 new jobs opening up in mid-Michigan in the next few months, and that's the reason for a job fair later today. The company is called Green Peak Innovations. They're a pre-qualified vertical medical marijuana company that's currently building their main headquarters, and they're looking to fill 50 jobs today. The jobs include roles such as farmers, irrigation technicians, growers, grow phase managers, distribution managers, and more.
So we are a pre-qualified vertical licensee in the state of Michigan, and what that means is that we will be a cultivator, processor, and owner-operator of provisioning centers. This facility will actually produce the cannabis products and then process them into other extracted and concentrate forms.
The 50 jobs they're focusing on today is just phase 1 of their hiring process. They're aiming to hire 80 more at a later date for this facility. Then more hiring will be done after this initial phase, and the company hopes to hire over 200 people in the state when all is said and done. The career fair is from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. at the Eagle Eye Golf Club in Bath Township.
All right, I wasn't crazy. It was a job fair. Michigan. Nice. Jobs. Thank you for subscribing, CVAS. Make sure you do subscribe. Get notifications for when we go live. DC 420 LA every Sunday at 4:20 Pacific, where we do indeed spark up. Talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and cannabis cures, because it's the only subject that we can deal with.
It's everything we want.
It's
moving in the right direction.
Focus on.
Yep. We wish to focus.
Jackpot is up, rolling around, probably looking to go pee, so he should probably go outside. We're going to play a video here, and I'm going to take him outside so he doesn't pee anywhere. We got two quick stories actually about I may not get to taking him to pee as we look at a drug bust and a new type of candidate running for office.
More than 1,600 pounds of drugs were found during a Nebraska traffic stop.
Drugs.
A Nebraska State Patrol trooper pulling over a minivan for speeding on Interstate 80. After a search of the vehicle, that trooper found more than 1,600 pounds of marijuana products and THC wax. All of the drugs were seized. The estimated street value, more than $550,000. The driver of the minivan and a passenger were both arrested and are being held in the Seward County Jail.
On its way to kill no one.
I'm Michael Bull, and I'm running for state representative. Iowa's medical marijuana program is helping our most vulnerable, and I support expanding the program. So vote Michael Bull, a new kind of Republican that stands for all Iowans.
A 14-year-old Republican running for office in Iowa.
He's not really 14. Doogie Howser.
But he supports
politics.
But he supports medical marijuana,
which is great. We support people who support cannabis.
Jackpot, you're such a sweet boy. Jackpot is, in case you're wondering, Jackpot is not under any type of surgery or anything. We're just trying to keep his hot spots down.
He's itchy.
From scratching.
He's an itchy boy.
He's having Jackpot's awesome. Jackpot is like pure source.
He's a good boy.
So there you go. That gets us out of the Midwest, and we're going to move into the next. Let's roll the dice.
Not the South. Not the South.
Not the South. All right. Well, let's go.
Bonnie's got to step away for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll go. Okay. Good call. We'll go into the East.
Yeah.
We'll go into the East, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's start in New York, where they are, of course, in Buffalo, super concerned about the legalization happening up north. So let's play a couple of New York stories and see what's going on. WKBW TV, Buffalo, New York.
In 1 week, marijuana becomes legal in Canada. But there are some things eager pot buyers need to know before heading north of the border. Here's 7 Eyewitness News reporter Josh Bazan.
In 7 short days, the wait will be over for millions of Canadians when marijuana is finally legalized. But for cannabis enthusiasts in Western New York, there won't be much reason to hop the border, at least for the next few months. Ontario is not allowing any recreational marijuana shops to open until April, although Ontario residents will be able to buy products online.
As new as the changing law is going to be to the general public, to immigration attorneys, these changes are also new for customs and border protection.
Immigration attorney Sabrina Reich says delays crossing the border are likely as U.S. officials start paying attention to the new law. She says Canadians who use marijuana legally at home should not be barred from entering the U.S., but immigration attorneys will be paying close attention to the border over the next few months. Reich says it is important for Americans to obey U.S. law when coming back across the border.
First and foremost is when Americans are going to Canada to engage in legal activity, make sure you don't bring anything back with you. Again, there can be criminal actions because of that. Certainly make sure you're not driving under the influence.
Customs and Border Protection will, of course, continue to enforce U.S. law at the border. In Buffalo, Josh Bazan, 7 Eyewitness News.
Business Insider reports Foria, a company that makes marijuana products for women, including marijuana suppositories designed to target menstrual cramps, nicknamed weed tampons, is about to see how they work in treating the symptoms associated with periods. A study was conducted by a Harvard professor named Stacy Gruber. She gave a survey to 400 women taking the suppositories while menstruating. Based on her survey's outcome, Gruber says she sees this as a first step in researchers using marijuana to promote the well-being of women.
Interesting. That was some curious images that they selected.
Well, you want to be shocking if you want people to see you.
That was their stock footage choices were curious.
Mm-hmm.
Weed tampons. There you go. Weed suppositories. We were talking about that last night.
Yep.
Those are not an issue in our house anymore. Anyway. So.
It's
anyone else report on that?
There are folks with sacral issues, like my godfather, who has cancer in that area, is starting to use suppositories and finding relief. And the lady we were talking to last night on the street, she has some other similar issue, lower back, low issue down there. Crohn's, yeah. Lupus?
That was Crohn's.
Yep. Crohn's. Yep. And she said that was extremely beneficial for her. Yep. So it's very interesting.
So this is that Tom Green and Daily Dope talking about legalization. And you mentioned this article, Tom. This is CEO predicts cannabis industry can bank legally by Christmas, actually. This is the Canopy Growth CEO, Bruce Linton. Well, let's see. Okay, so here's your date where it comes in. Is to be believed the issue may be rectified as early as January 2019. There you go. When, according to him, cannabis businesses will be able to begin bank legally. Linton calls the unprecedented upcoming move a Christmas present to the cannabis industry.
Mele Kaliki Maka. Little tip from Tom Green. Drop that in the chat, so we want to bring it up for him.
Yes.
And for everybody. But I do want to make a little note about the tampon story.
Yes.
While the images might be shocking to some who may have not used tampons in the past, those fucking menstrual cramps are no joke. Tell the people, Dave.
Oh, the story?
No, but tell the people how they are no joke. They might be able to hear it better from you.
Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day when you had them? When I had menstrual cramps.
Before Dr. Kim?
Yeah, before Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim.
One incident was, you would be curled up on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Door closed, screaming with your face buried in a towel.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. No joke.
And so loud once the neighbor called the cops.
Yeah.
On us.
Yeah. Because they thought that you were hurting me.
Yeah, I thought I was killing children.
Not that I was being punched from inside.
No.
That's what it felt like. It felt like I was being punched from inside. So I would have loved to try tampons like that. That would have been interesting. I'm interested to see how they deliver the medicine, though, because, the flow is going out. So to absorb, I don't really know how that would work. But anyway, whatever. I'm excited for the ladies who will find it helpful. We'll watch for the results.
Watch, as they would say in the mainstream media, watch this space to find out about marijuana tampons.
Hey, listen.
And the results of that study.
Yeah.
You really know how to roll a good tampon. There you go. You got to know how to roll it.
Listen.
That's right. Home-rolled tampons.
Yeah.
Brian Orber, thank you for that visual.
Yeah.
JCC707, I'm sorry, Chella. I know I can be just pure hell. I've been surrounded by women almost all my life.
Yeah, no, I was getting the feeling from the comments in the chat that we didn't have a whole lot of ladies represented. So I wanted to make sure that, to balance that out a bit.
I was raised by ladies. I think I turned out okay.
You did, and you were always very, very kind with the whole cramp situation. But really, I found it's, that's great. I think it's great to have alternative medication that will help with cramps. But if you can find out what you are putting into the system that is causing the imbalance that causes the cramps, that's even better, which is what happened in my case. I was able to, through the help of this acupuncturist, he told me things that I was eating that was screwing up my system, and that was causing the cramps to happen because hormones would be out of balance because I was out of balance. So I'm sure these cannabis tampons will help restore the balance once it's fucked up. But isn't it better to prevent the fucked up balance in the first place? I think so.
And apparently, tampons are an excellent way to boof things, according to Kavanaugh, that RBU 83145.
Okay, I wish to not concentrate on things like that and him.
But cannabis, technically, I guess cannabis suppositories would be boofing.
Right, that's what you mentioned on the street last night, actually, about boofing.
Medicinally speaking.
Yes, there are tons of nerve endings and capillaries down there. Yes.
Yeah.
And everyone should know that. All people.
All people should know that.
Unless I suppose you have no interest in the business down there at all.
And yeah, exactly. But
there are some men who have no interest.
We digress.
Yeah, that's a whole other show, guys. All right, so we digress.
Suppositories and Kavanaugh, which are basically the same.
No. Moving on.
Shoved up somebody's ass.
Moving on.
Shoved up somebody's puckered ass. Okay.
Yes.
Moving on to Jersey. Let's move on to New Jersey, where competition is fierce for their expanding and growing medical marijuana.
Garden State.
We truly feel that we bring something special to Patterson that hasn't been done before. And we want to do it in a big way. We want to help. We're here to help.
We're talking with former NFL lineman Leonard Marshall about opening a medical marijuana dispensary inside this former Concentra Medical Center, the 5,000-square-foot buildings in Patterson's run-down Second Ward. And Marshall's a spokesman with Hillview Med, one of 50 applicants for a dispensary license in North Jersey.
We'll create some economic change here in Patterson. I think that if you take a look around and really look at the landscape of things here, it could use kind of an uplift.
This particular spot was actually a perfect spot for us.
Why?
It's 2 blocks away from St. Joe's.
And 1,000 feet from a drug-free school zone, says CEO Ken Vandevried. Regs are strict. The state prefers applicants with strong corporate commitment to the local community. His mission?
Hire Patterson residents here, put them through a job training, and we're probably going to need around 30 to 40 employees here at this location.
Patterson's economy could use a shot in the arm, and this could provide that. We're not in a position to turn away any potential revenue.
While the mayor welcomes jobs and tax revenues, dispensaries also generate security risks. They're largely cash businesses. Patterson's police director has no qualms.
We always recommend that they hire police officers because that's the best security. On the outside of, buildings, do escorts to the banks, handle those types of situations to make it safer.
The state also wants firms that can cultivate, manufacture, and dispense medical cannabis products. Vandevried's family farm, Grow Right in Pequannock, cultivates basil in 750,000 square feet of greenhouses with the ability to scale up to 2.2 million square feet. New Jersey's Department of Health will award 6 new medical cannabis dispensary licenses, 2 each for North, Central, and South Jersey. Competition's fierce. Jordan Lambs heads Pure NJ, another North Jersey applicant for somewhere in Morris County.
We're respecting the town's request for lack of disclosure, just because it's still a developing process. That being said, we do, for a manufacturing and cultivation facility, have approval in hand.
Pure NJ plans an efficient dispensary with no lines, important given almost 33,000 patients have now signed up for Jersey's medical marijuana program. It's got 5 acres of greenhouses and a 20-acre farm somewhere in Morris County, and it anticipates creating up to 100 jobs within 6 months to a year. It's already operating in 4 states, Nevada, Michigan, California, and Pennsylvania.
Within less than 6 months, we built a facility from the ground up in Pennsylvania and brought product to the market, so where we now command the leading market share for the products available in that medical program. Additionally, we think New Jersey as a whole is going to be successful because in all the markets we've operated in, the recipe for success really tends to be when the administration from the top takes ownership of the process. And we've seen that in spades with Governor Murphy's team.
It's getting down to the wire. The state's expected to announce the 6 new licensees November 1st. In Pequannock, I'm Brenda Flanagan, NJTV News.
Cannabis cafes could make their debut in Massachusetts, but it could happen later than expected. 22 News State House reporter Jody Reed is in Boston with a breakdown of that timeline.
The Cannabis Control Commission met today to discuss the possibility of opening up places where people could buy and consume marijuana. Final licenses have been granted for several retail marijuana facilities across Massachusetts, but none of those locations have opened for business yet. The recreational pot shops would be a place where consumers could come and buy marijuana, but they can't consume it there. At Tuesday's meeting, the CCC talked at length about social consumption and the safety concerns surrounding it. Commissioners requested more information about impaired driving and underage use. They also discussed setting a limit on the amount of time an individual can spend in the facility. If the commission were to approve social consumption locations, Massachusetts would be the first state in the country to license cannabis cafes on a statewide basis. But those locations could still be banned by cities and towns if they don't comply with zoning requirements. The commission made it clear cannabis cafes are still in the distant future, but they'll have a better timeline once the recreational shops are up and running. We spoke with the CEO of INSA today, who was just approved to sell recreational marijuana at their East Hampton dispensary. He told 22 News they would consider turning their recreational marijuana facility into a social consumption facility. At the State House in Boston, Jody Reed, 22 News.
Cannabis.
We have Jody Reed talking about cannabis.
Social consumption. They're both going to the pot shop. They're both going to the social consumption lounge together.
Oh, as soon as it's open, they'll be there.
They're going to the opening party. They're going to be on the list.
Try some recreational cannabis. I love it. It's the Cannabis Control Commission, and then the rest of the story is completely referred to marijuana.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
nuts.
some subversive shit, man.
Some subversive shit, man.
Can you guys hear me crunching away on these inner P's?
Yes, we have the inner P connection. We have the inner P inner P mic happening. Jackpot did not mark outside, but he seems to be content in the chair, so I'm not going to worry about him too much. Yes, she needs a little cannabis to loosen up.
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
22,
cannabis with the CE.
Cannabis at 22 for you. And that rolls up our East Coast block. Small news, small kind news coming out of the East Coast today.
It's 6:11.
It's 6:11. That's why. That's why we're keeping it to 4.5 hours as opposed to 5. All right. So we're still waiting for Bonnie Lee to get back. So we're gonna go. We're gonna go to the West Coast.
Yeah, West Coast, best coast.
West Coast, best coast.
Y'all know it.
We all grow to
You all know. You all know. You all know. West Coast, best coast.
And let's see. We're gonna start. We're gonna start in Utah, where of course cannabis
Not
is on.
super West Coast, but okay.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to
Mark up a joint
to the West Coast. There we go. A West Coast J. That's how I can. Oops.
Oh, you lit the wrong end.
Lit the wrong end.
That's how you know you're high.
I thought that was weird. Not like I haven't done that before in my life. All right, well, I'll fix that as we roll into this first West Coast story. Utah. Here we go.
The governor, some legislators, and community leaders may have a compromise on Proposition 2, but the only certainty on this issue is the November vote. And the latest advertisement from Drug Safe Utah deserves some scrutiny.
Prop 2 legalizes full plant marijuana and edibles sold in pot shops, not pharmacies.
The proposition calls them dispensaries, not pot shops, but they're not pharmacies. Pharmacies can't legally sell cannabis. This claim is fact.
Pot shops next to homes and schools are not about medicine.
Prop 2 says dispensaries have to be 300 feet from residential zones and 600 feet from schools, churches, and other community centers. That might seem close, but next to homes and schools is fiction.
They're about making marijuana easily accessible, allowing you to buy the equivalent of 120 marijuana joints at a time and to possess 200 joints in public.
Some background here. A joint contains between 1/3 and 2/3 of a gram of marijuana. Prop 2 allows a patient to buy 2
up to a gram.
ounces every 14 days. That's about 57 grams. So the equivalent of 120 joints is a fact. Now to the biggest problem in this ad. Listen again.
Allowing you to buy the equivalent of 120 marijuana joints at a time and to possess 200 joints in public.
We'll play fun with phrases to show the problem with that second claim. The word equivalent makes claim 1 true. You can buy that much cannabis. But the second claim is a separate phrase. They say outright you can possess 200 joints. The thing is, that giant joint in the picture is illegal in Prop 2. Any marijuana smoking is a crime.
That's a grab,
though
that
the
joint.
ad makes it seem like a patient could wave 200 joints in front of a police officer and have no problem. That is fiction.
It's important to remember for those on either side of this issue, if Proposition 2 fails at the ballot, it's entirely possible medical marijuana will stay illegal. The governor can call a special session, but legislators don't have to vote with him. In the newsroom, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Cool. All right. Sweet. We got it.
Okay, one issue that seems to be getting more and more front and center is the issue of medicinal marijuana. We have an initiative that probably is going to get its signatures sometime in the next week or so, and we have 5 bills with our legislature right now, getting from everything from the research side to maybe something more than that. Let's start with you, Michelle, for just a second. Why such the interest, and kind of tell us where it's going?
Well, I mean, Utah's been inching along this path for a while, but for the patients who want to use this as a treatment, it's just not far enough. So I don't think anything the legislature is going to do this year is going to dissuade them or stave them off this path. The biggest leap we've got is a proposal that would allow people at the end of their life, they're terminally ill, to try marijuana in the last 6 months to see if it helps them.
Okay. The appetite's there for this, Julia?
Well, among the lawmakers, I think they're just accepting of it. It's sort of, you know.
So it's just inevitable?
Yeah. I mean, Representative Brad Daw has been pushing a lot of those bills, and I think he's critical of the ballot process, but I think he knows that this is going to go through, and so I think some of his bills are kind of crafted toward that aim.
So are they trying to preempt the initiative, Kirk, or?
If they could, they would love to. I mean, they hate to have these initiatives defining policy without what they see, their research and their reasoned compromise and all of that. But the other thing that's happened is, I think as of November, 29 states had passed some type of medicinal marijuana. And so, you know, a couple of years ago, this was not going to be an issue where Utah was going to be the first one through the gate.
Right.
But now, when you look at our, the opinion polls, it's something like 76% support it. I know people quibble about the question, was it a serious medical condition, makes it a little slanted. But regardless, it's a supermajority want it. And now over a majority of the states have it. So it's just time, and it's going to happen.
Okay, so one of the most interesting parts about this to me is we have all these bills that kind of carve out a little piece, but none of them are as broad as this initiative, right? You've been reading that. I mean, do you feel like people understand what's in there? Because that goes a lot farther than these.
The people signing it, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of support for the concept, and I think that there's a lot of people willing to let the ballot initiative supporters and lawmakers work out the fine details later, you know, if they don't quite agree on the way the program works. But I think the support for this is building almost kind of the way moods changed on same-sex marriage, that more and more people knew a person who was gay. With this one, you see so many different conditions that a lot of people know somebody who might be able to benefit from this, and that's kind of turning minds on this one.
Okay. Julia, just last thought on this. I've not really seen a ton of people vocally opposing yet. Are we going to?
I don't know. I mean, I saw the last county convention or wherever it was, they shot down an amendment to their platform to add that. The Republicans did. So you'll see some pushback, but I think overall, you know, every state, almost every state around us has some sort of legalized medicinal cannabis. So it's just a matter of time.
Okay, Kirk, last thought.
It is. It's going to happen. You're probably going to get a bill. The initiative will probably pass, and they'll go.
We'll try to reconcile those two in some way.
Right.
I think we'll see some opposition from the Utah Medical
Yeah,
Association.
so I was wondering.
They've already said that they're planning to gear up maybe with some ads or something. So we still will see some of that, but whether it'll sway people remains to be seen.
Okay, we'll watch this one closely. We'll have resolution pretty soon. Okay, thank you for your thoughts.
This has been the Mr. Hinkie Report.
Change your name, man.
Mighty Terrell on Twitch. The only death was a guy choked on a Cheetos. Mm-hmm. I almost inhaled the filter when I lit the wrong end of the joint.
That'd be bad. That'd be bad.
Happy Guy says, okay, I got the suppository lit. Now what?
Hi, Angelica.
Grab your ass.
Nice to see you.
Angelica Duenas joining us on Facebook. Welcome.
Cool. That's awesome.
New viewers on all the platforms. On Twitch, as I said.
Stuff.
Mighty Terrell over there on Twitch with that Cheetos comment. Welcome, everybody, on all the platforms. I think Periscope might be having problems. I gotta change these. But if you're on Periscope, I see people joining. Hello. Make a comment. It'll come through on below. So welcome, everybody. That we are into the Western Bloc, not necessarily West Coast, of course, because there was a couple of stories coming out of Utah where it's the battle between the ballot initiatives and the legislature trying to end run or do a sidestep to pass legalization. Despite the Mormon Church, the LDS Church, it's going to pass. It's popular, hugely popular in Utah, and
even among Mormons themselves.
Even among Mormons. That's true.
We had a story recently of a Mormon mom who gives her kid cannabis for seizure control.
That's right.
So, there we go.
All right. We're going to move into another Western state. Let's see what it is.
Thank you, Mike. Last week, the Blackfeet Tribal Business Council passed a new resolution to decriminalize possession of medical marijuana on the reservation. That resolution was recommended by the Blackfeet Law and Order Committee after it received a plea from a tribal member. That member was facing jail time for possessing medical marijuana that he was using to treat his seizures. The Law and Order Committee determined that lawful medical prescriptions should not be penalized with tribal criminal sanctions. The Business Council agreed that since tribal land is still under federal jurisdiction, possession of medical marijuana is illegal at this time. The new resolution, though, strips any tribal criminal sanctions from being imposed.
Federal agents raided. That was Helena, Montana, coming from KTVH.
It's awesome. Well, I hope that they do take steps to legalize marijuana on the res. I hope they start growing on the res and supplying the rest of the community.
And making big moves in industrial hemp.
That'd be cool.
A lot of the First Nations, which is a great idea. So there you go. That was
So you just said Montana.
Montana, yeah.
Just go with it.
I'm going with it.
Go with it.
I'll buy that for $1.
Somewhere around there.
Meanwhile, in legal Colorado, this from CBS Denver.
We have an update now on a massive marijuana bust in El Paso County. A SWAT team raided a home and found hundreds of pot plants inside. It also recovered narcotics, cash, body armor, and 14 different weapons. Deputies arrested 21-year-old Caleb Morida. No charges announced yet. The investigation is still open.
New figures from Nevada's Department of Taxation show marijuana hit an all-time record. The state recorded $7.9 million in tax revenue for July, up $4.2 million. It beat out the top 3 months of the last year's sales. Tax revenue includes adult use, recreational, and medical marijuana. Nevada has a wholesale tax for both and a sales tax for recreational marijuana only. While the total combined revenue from these taxes hit a new peak, this July is the third largest month for adult use sales, which were just shy of $41 million. That amounts to $40.1 million in revenue. Wholesale tax generated $3.8 million, which is its largest month of collections to date. The combined taxes are projected to bring in $69.4 million over the course of this fiscal year, which runs through June 2019. Utah voters will decide whether to allow medical marijuana on Proposition 2, but lawmakers will also consider a compromise bill that would implement some kind of cannabis program after the November election.
Bullshit! That's bullshit! They're only doing that to thwart the will of the people.
That's right.
Fuck those guys. I've been so chill, not listening to the news.
I know, right?
And now I'm listening to the news and how they're trying to fuck us all the time, and it's like, ah! harshing my mellow, man. I think we need some indica.
So the main upshot of that little tidbit was not the Utah deal, because it's going to pass. But, they may thwart it with that move, because then they can just kill it or make it terrible, change it all. But the tax revenue, everybody's saying, we're not bringing, the taxes aren't actually as good as everyone says it is. This tax revenue thing is malarkey. No, it's not.
It's not. So green. It's so green.
And Nevada doesn't have a sales tax for medicinal, the cannabis. So that's good. And they're still bringing in lots of money. The wholesale taxes have got to be low.
Plenty. Yes, that's true.
As we say, plenty of green out there. It grows like a weed. Plenty of people want it. You don't need to tax the hell out of it. You want people out of the traditional market. You want people out of the local market. Keep the taxes low. Keep the price of entry low for businesses. And allow access to patients without penalty, and you will get people out of the traditional market and local markets and into your regulated system. If you don't do that, and this lab testing nonsense, it's not nonsense. We want our clean cannabis, but it's ridiculous what they're putting these growers and distributors or whoever has to do the testing through. It's crazy. Here in California for sure, and it's going to be like that everywhere. Heavy metal testing is coming up in California since we're in the West Coast block. Just to mention that, heavy metal testing is coming up as another milestone in our wonderful system at the end of December, which means, and nobody in California is ready for that. So let's continue in the West Coast block. And see what the story is.
120-year-old Berkeley business could get a new lease.
Oh, we're moving into California. Awesome. Yeah, that was a bust in Colorado. I hate those stories, but they happen all the time. It's more illegal now that it's legal.
Yeah.
And as long as you go back to what I just said, as long as the taxations and you're gonna have this, and people are gonna get busted for moving lots of marijuana that's going nowhere to kill anyone.
Yeah. As we all know.
Right. As we all know. So let's get into California and some good news, a good story about the rebirth of a new business, and now taking advantage of the green rush and bringing another business back from oblivion, essentially. So let's take a look at this good story.
120-year-old Berkeley business could get a new lease on life. Tomorrow, it'll know if it can reopen as a first-of-its-kind cannabis nursery. Back in 2014, Yabusaki's Dwight Way Nursery closed down after deaths in the family. KPIX5's Susie Steimel talked to the man who has a creative plan to revive the family business.
So there's going to be a hard fence line that's going to be in between both of these buildings.
27-year-old Masao Yabusaki gave us a tour of his shuttered family business in Berkeley. For more than 120 years, the Dwight Way Nursery was the place to purchase and learn about Japanese bonsai trees. His grandfather and namesake Masao and grandmother Tomoko operated this place since the 80s. But when his aunt Emmy died of cancer, Masao says everything changed.
When she passed away, that's when this whole business just fell apart.
Since then, these gates have remained closed. Masao is hoping cannabis can bring this place back to life.
But we want to transform the nursery use, I guess you can say. We want to transform that hybridized use into something that nobody's ever seen before.
Tomorrow, the city of Berkeley will decide if Masao can be granted a license to sell cannabis plants here.
We won't be selling any of the end products, so no edibles here, no oils, no flower or the bud of any sort.
It'd be the first nursery of its kind in the nation. Legally, adults over the age of 21 in California can own 6 or fewer cannabis plants.
This family is a legacy minority-owned Berkeley business.
City Council member Chris Worthington supports the idea and says he thinks it'll easily sail through the approval process.
So far, we haven't heard any council members objecting so far.
If he's right, Masao says this will once again be a place to learn about horticulture and cultivation, just on a completely new scale. In Berkeley, Susie Steimel, KPIX 5.
At the same time that Nevada is launching a growing recreational marijuana industry, California is trying to keep up with what is expected to be a multi-billion-dollar cannabis industry of its own.
Just 2 hours from Las Vegas, a California company is building a cannabis campus that will have enough cultivation space for 250,000 marijuana plants to help keep up with demand in the Golden State. Patrick Walker takes us to Needles, California for an inside look at that facility.
In the small city of Needles, California, a big project is sprouting up out of the dirt on the edge of the Mojave Desert.
This is the extraction center, various forms of extraction, from ethanol to using butanes.
Drew Milburn is the chief operating officer of the vertical companies. The
Like
name
a
comes
Quentin
from being
Tarantino
vertically
Remember
integrated,
this?
meaning they are involved in every step of marijuana production, from when it's a seed all the way to its sale as a finished product.
Once the extraction is done and you've actually pulled the product off of the flower, then it goes through various stages of distillation.
Vertical's 10,000 square foot production facility has been up and running for a few months. But they are retooling the rooms to ramp up production by as much as 500% as each of the 16 cultivation buildings come online. There's a purple glow emanating from high-intensity, energy-efficient LED lights in each of the 24 growing rooms inside of the first cultivation building, set to start growing cannabis any day now. As each building comes online, work will begin on the next one. When this entire project is built out, there will be some 640,000 square feet of cultivation space. That would make this one of, if not the largest cultivation and production facilities in the entire Southwest.
We'll have probably several hundred brands at the end of the day.
CEO Todd Kaplan says this cannabis campus will be the center of his company's operations, which has facilities in several states and in other countries.
And it depends on what the retail price and what the wholesale price of flour and oil is. But we'll probably be anywhere between $200 and $300 million worth of product coming out of just here in Needles.
While the company expects to make a big profit, the city of Needles expects to see a big windfall every year. The city's vice mayor has advocated for marijuana companies to come to Needles, and Vertical's operations are expected to pay off handsomely.
I can see the 10% excise tax we put on this industry bringing in probably 4 times, 5 times as much as our budget is right now.
Cha-ching! It's a major facility that could really put Needles on the map if federal restrictions on marijuana are eased. Patrick Walker, 8 News Now.
Vertical expects to employ between 500 and 550 workers once that 29-acre campus is at full operation.
At the same time,
it's the beginning, huh?
And that would basically triple the workforce of Needles.
Yeah, buy real estate in Needles, guys.
I don't know what the population. I don't know what the population of Needles is, but it ain't much.
Nah.
So it looks like.
But look, there's no water there. There's no trees. There's no mountains. There's a whole lot of nothing. It looks.
If you've never been to Needles,
I've never been to Needles.
We've been through Needles.
We have.
You passed through Needles to go through. I've never. Well, we've never stopped in Needles.
That's what I'm saying. Like, where's the vegan cafe in Needles, babe?
Yeah.
That's usually where we
BINGUS,
stay.
Grandmaster level. Look at those LEDs.
Yeah. Yeah, all of our Grandmaster levelers.
460,000 acres. Where the hell are they going to get their water from? Vegas?
They suck it from the ground, I guess, but dude.
That's no bueno. California gets our water from Colorado.
Colorado.
But that's going to be interesting. That's great. Needles. That's near. They were going to. That's out towards the town they bought of Nipton.
Nipton, right.
Nipton is close to Needles.
Real Jingy is saying that there's lots of rock climbing in Needles.
Lots of rock climbing. Lots of rattlesnake hunting. There's mob murder burials. Dumpings. Right. Out in Needles. It's a whole plethora of things you can do.
There's a few industries.
And there's a town you can buy. It's because I don't think they're
Needles,
actually developing it anymore.
Called Nipton.
There's a little town out there on the way, close. I think it's not quite close to Needles, but it's in the general area. So there you go. The industry is all over California. Yeah, we do hope that nursery is brought back to life with cannabis. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
It would be beautiful.
I'd love to stop by there.
And this is happening all over the country, folks. dilapidated areas of Detroit and different area everywhere. I'm not just Detroit, but everywhere that cannabis is moving in, they're taking over factories and warehouses and
that's because only in the areas that have been treated poorly, not given a lot of energy over the years,
right,
are allowed to have cutting edge businesses, and then people call it gentrification.
Yep.
And it is in a way, but it revitalizes the area. It's just that because there's no protections for the established community in that area, other people come in and fuck it all up. So if they could just have more established protections for those who are already living in the area, then it would be great if areas became revitalized, if they didn't throw out the families that were already there. Anyway.
Keep talking. I'm adjusting my...
Are you adjusting stuff?
My playlist.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now I'm ready now. We
Cool.
have to move on to the south now, though, Charlie.
Oh,
because,
down to the south.
I hope Bonnie Lee is back in, because we're into our last... we've saved the south for last.
Yeah.
Because it's always fun.
I do totally want to stop at that Berkeley nursery when it's up and running when we're going back from Sacramento sometime.
I saw a lot of Facebook reminders from our anniversary and for my birthday. We do a lot of traveling. So I'm sure we'll have a chance to get into that. Check out that nursery in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
I am sure. But let's move into the South and finish up with a load of news in politics and other things, starting in... Bob Hammond, you here?
He'll enjoy Oklahoma's wide open spaces. He loves to run and run.
There's still a number of poison pills that are designed to defeat the intent of 788.
Attorney Chad Moody talking about loopholes in the state's medical marijuana laws. Moody's client, Dr. Scott Evans, claims he has given recommendations to a number of his patients for medical marijuana, but some of their applications have been denied.
He is losing business and suffering reputational harm.
Moody says it's because the state is citing language in the new law that says a doctor has to be board certified in a specialty to prescribe pot.
It's absolutely ludicrous, because why would someone who's board certified in, plastic surgery be more qualified to recommend marijuana than someone who's just got an ordinary physician's license?
I talked to a spokesperson from the state. They declined an interview, but when I asked them about Dr. Evans' claims, they said we cannot comment on pending litigation. When I asked why some applications are being turned away in general, they said most were due to errors in filling out the forms, but I would refer you to the OMMA website for rules and regulations regarding license. The health department also sent me emergency rule language. It says in part, if the physician holds a valid, unrestricted, and existing license to practice in the state of Oklahoma and meets the definition of board certified under the rule established by either the Oklahoma Board of Medical Licensure or the Oklahoma Board of Osteopathic Examiners. It's that last part that Moody says is the kicker. The Board of Osteopathics specifically uses the term specialist in its rules.
The health department has taken the position that board certified means specialty board certified, and that is not what 788 said.
We contacted the State Board of Osteopathic Examiners. They sent us their definition of board certified, which does seem to indicate you can only be certified if you're a specialist, which could cause a problem for folks like Dr. Evans. Moody says this is just a way for officials to further restrict access to medical marijuana.
I think that a lot of the establishment in Oklahoma did not want to have 788 pass, and they're upset and frustrated that it did. Right now, they're throwing a temper tantrum because they lost.
Renee Harper owns Green Hope Wellness, a CBD shop, and more. She's still considering whether she'll apply to open a separate dispensary for medical marijuana.
I haven't just been anxious to, go forth with that because it's been so back and forth the entire time.
Testing requirements for concentrates and extracts.
On Wednesday, a step in which she calls the right direction, with lawmakers approving recommendations for product testing standards.
Here we go.
And since it's a medicine, just like every other medicine, you want to make sure you know that it actually has the medicinal values you're looking for.
This 11-page proposal includes requirements such as labs testing concentrates or extracts for things like THC levels and potency. That process, if approved by the State Board of Health, would start in May of 2019. However, Senator Greg McCourtney says the first set of products could be on shelves before then.
Before these lab tests are put in place, any marijuana you buy in the state of Oklahoma is very much used at your own risk. It very easily could have contaminants, it could have heavy metals, it could really harm you.
Chip Paul, the author of State Question 788, says right now there are seeds in Oklahoma's grounds.
If you want to grow marijuana, you grow stuff that's already been growing here in Oklahoma, right? So that process has started. There's plants in the ground, there's plants that are this high now.
He says overall he's pleased with what he heard Wednesday.
And as much as people perhaps want to think that we want this wide open, we really don't. I mean, we want to protect consumer safety. This is a medical marijuana program. We're uber concerned with everyone's safety.
Potential dispensary owners like Harper say it gives her some hope.
It's just a protection, for people. If you're going to consume something, you'd want it to be tested.
Medical marijuana.
We'll get to Wallace Shawn and his opinion about cannabis in
2018.
But that was this is according to the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, as of October 8, 8,554 patients, 73 caregiver, 1,852 business applications have been received. 10,479 applications total. 8,321 have been approved.
Wow.
824 growers, 224 processors that will be paying for all of that testing, I'm sure.
Yes. Setting up of the system.
Yes. So,
I wonder what all those 10,000 people were doing before it was legal. Just overnight, they just decided, hey, I've had this idea for so long.
Now,
it's pretty great. This is a really exciting time.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
It's so incredible.
I mean, literally everybody. It's on. It has to be talked about in every election. Anybody that's running for office in a state that's thinking about it, even which is almost all of them now. Almost everybody's got some type of marijuana ballot or something going on in November. If not, so they will be in 2020. And so now everybody's got to get on board. They've got to state their opinion. And here's a load of politicians that are being forced to do just that. And I thought this was from Kentucky, but this says Indiana State District 46, Senate District 46. So maybe I'm confused, but which is quite possible. But confusion is a very high state of being. Let's just see what these politicians, mixed of Republicans, OG-GOPs, and Democrats, and their opinions about Cannabis 2018.
Medical marijuana can be a valuable tool and a drug to control certain diseases and certain treatments. It should be further evaluated and made available by licensed medical professionals if found to be safe and effective.
I'm from all the surveys I've taken of my constituents and the phone calls that I've received, I reflect my constituency and by far it's overwhelming support for medical marijuana. The only issue with medical marijuana is what is it? How far do we go? There's those that would like for medical marijuana to actually just be recreational marijuana disguised as medical marijuana. And, we won't go that far.
I always disguise my
place that we can go
recreational
and
marijuana as
medical for Kentucky. And that will be the issue. I think if you ask anybody, most people will say they support medical marijuana.
That's right.
But we need to define exactly what it is that we're going to support.
I'm in favor of legalizing medicinal marijuana for several reasons. One, we know that marijuana is safer than alcohol. We have no reported incidences of death from a marijuana overdose, no reported incidences of significant domestic violence from marijuana as we do with alcohol. So we know that the drug, compared to the drugs that people are allowed to self-medicate with at this point, is a much safer drug. We also know that there are certain groups of this society that really feel like they need this drug. Veterans feel that medicinal marijuana significantly helps with post-traumatic stress disorder. Opioid addicts feel that it significantly helps with trying to stay off of opioids. We know that epileptic patients, that's an absolute no-brainer. There are some patients that really need this drug for their seizures. All that being said, I am in favor of medicinal marijuana. I also think we need the revenue for the state. We are in really a revenue crisis. My take as a physician is even if
you
it
could have
is
led
a placebo,
with the doctor.
we know that placebos
You could have
work.
said, could say Dr.
And
Karen
it
Berg on the
is
bottom.
relatively compared to many other drugs that we have on the market, an extremely safe product. I do believe that we need to do some more research. I would be in favor of a zero tolerance for driving while under the influence, because we have no good studies that show what the appropriate level of marijuana consumption and safe driving is.
Dr. Karen Berg.
Very much in favor.
Made a
of
wrong
medical
turn there at the
marijuana.
end.
I think this is
And here
one
is,
way we
Dr.
can address the opioid
Ginsburg.
crises. I think that for
Rita
seizures,
Fleming.
for PTSD, many conditions, it has been proven that medical marijuana is effective. I have a friend who had cancer, and when the drugs for nausea and vomiting became ineffective, his physician said probably the best thing you could do is find some pot. If a doctor's recommending that, it probably should be legal.
So medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, industrial hemp, we got to understand that all three of those are very different things. Medical marijuana is something that's shown studies to reduce seizures in certain patients. It's shown to have positive effects on cancer cells. And I think it's something we really need to take a serious look at and look at the research that's coming out of that and make a very educated decision on where we're going to go with that.
I'm definitely a proponent of medical cannabis. There are a lot of people who can benefit from that, especially veterans with PTSD, many of whom say that cannabis is the only thing that can help them. Chemo patients, people with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, irritable bowel syndrome patients, there are a whole lot of people who can benefit from this. And I think it's ridiculous to say that a doctor can safely prescribe an opioid but can't safely prescribe cannabis.
I'm in favor of legalizing medical marijuana. I think that the curative effects of
think?
medical marijuana are well documented. States that have pursued it have seen positive decreases in the amount of opioids that are being used. And it's my understanding that it's primarily the pharmaceutical companies that are fighting the legalization of marijuana, which is a problem. If there's positive effects from it, the people of Kentucky deserve to have access to it. Finally, I believe that Kentucky's farmers, especially our small farmers, deserve to have a replacement for the tobacco industry that has gone away. And if there is a replacement cash crop available, I think that small farmers across our state should have access to that as well.
Well, that's a very personal situation with me. I lost my wife in October from breast cancer.
Swipe left.
After 5 years. And I saw that when she used medical marijuana, it helped calm her, it helped with the pain, and it also, just her last few years, a lot better for her. I'm a firm believer in medical marijuana, and I would certainly support and push for that in the state of Indiana.
An indoor marijuana farm was found at an Okaloosa Island apartment. The sheriff's office said.
Before we get into that story, my joke might have been a little rude based on his story, but that's fine. That was referring to Vegan Metro's comment. These look like ads from a pro-cannabis video dating show.
Yes. Very funny. You guys are so funny.
You guys are hilarious. I love our chatters.
CVAS, very funny.
Oh, my God.
Everybody, very funny.
I believe AAA had a report regarding driving under the influence. I'm not mistaken, a few years back already. Is that what we're laughing at? CVAS. Oh, that
He's
one.
a
There
keeper.
it is. I like walking with long joints on the beach.
Yep. And then Vegan Metro ends it with, he's a keeper. Sure, he has NFL season pass, but he also makes a mean omelet, that guy.
Listen, and
He's a good guy, that guy. helping his
Well,
wife
that's a very
through.
personal.
That's right.
Helping his wife through cancer.
I think you should swipe left on John Perkins because
good
he's
guy.
a very compassionate man and loved his wife, would be there with you to the
But
very
all
end.
those people running for office in Kentucky are pro-cannabis.
Kentucky,
That's pretty
Indiana.
freaking amazing.
I'm not confused anymore. It was going between Kentucky and Indiana. They're in the same media market. That's
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right, it's getting on about time.
The bag is full. The bag is full.
It's getting there. It's
It is
almost
getting there.
full.
Let's continue on to our last couple of stories here in the South. Yes. Before we wrap it up and we move on into The Walking Dead and getting ready for tomorrow's stock trading, education,
or
things, or whatever we're doing.
I might go see my mom.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I dig it.
And get some ice cream on the way home.
Oh.
Vegan.
Now you've piqued my interest. Let's
Just to
move
be clear.
forward. And turn up the volume.
An indoor marijuana farm was found at an Okaloosa Island apartment. The sheriff's office says they found 1.5 pounds of weed growing in there. They arrested 25-year-old Fabian Pabon and 21-year-old Leanne Pabon. They were arrested after the couple tried to escape sheriff's deputies. They're both charged with possession, intent to distribute, cultivation of marijuana, and possession of paraphernalia. Both are currently in the Baldwin County Jail. However, Pabon has a warrant in Santa Rosa County.
And they both now have good Tinder profile pictures as well.
Hers is good. He looks like a criminal. It's not a good shot.
Yeah, I guess that's the case.
Hers is cute.
Even with the tattoo, I think that would work as a Tinder.
They look malnourished. He looks malnourished, especially.
It's an interesting dynamic in this relationship, I'd say. I'm curious to write a story about that. This is like who could play her? What's her name? The elf from Lord of the Rings, daughter of.
Oh yeah, Perry.
Yeah, Perry or Tyler Perry.
The daughter, Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler. No, that's another one.
Tyler Perry.
That's not his daughter.
Could be played by Liv Tyler though. And who could play the guy?
Her, yes.
But they're now. This is Okaloosa County. I guess that's Mississippi. What is it? Where's Okaloosa County?
Bonnie Lee, where is
Somewhere.
that? Bonnie Lee, tell us where that is while we get the next story ready.
Apparently somewhere where you don't want to be growing marijuana
in your apartment.
In your apartment.
1.5 pounds of weed. That's industrious. Good job, guys. I'm impressed with you all.
All in favor of that, raise your hand.
All in favor of that, raise your hand. Let's see what this story's all about.
All in favor of that, raise your hand.
The Medical Marijuana Working Group unanimously approved Oklahoma's medical marijuana labeling and testing rules that will now go to the State Department of Health. Some of the proposed requirements include labeling the harvest date, as well as the name of the grower, THC level, and the lab name that tested the product.
It very easily could have contaminants, it could have heavy metals, it could really.
What are you high? We've seen this story.
Moving on from Oklahoma. But you know what? It was nice to show Bonnie Lee because she missed it, I think.
Oh.
Because we started with that story.
That's true.
And she came in right at the tail end of it.
Maybe that was
That's
why
fine.
that happened. But
That is why that happened. But we'll move on.
Continue playing it, I'm afraid.
That's okay. We're thinking that those people were tweakers.
Yeah. Well,
He looks a little tweaky.
They didn't bust him with any.
They didn't say anything about
tweaking
other drugs.
And
you know they would.
Drugs.
All right, what's next?
All right. Well, we're going to go to, I believe that's our last little story. Finish up the South.
Oh, really?
I think so. Let's see what it is.
Let's see. Oh, okay.
Florida. Oh, wait. What's that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, hang on. Let me put the volume up here.
Oh.
All the audio is muted. So it's only a 30-second story, so I'm going back to play it again. Sorry. Okay. All the audio is on now for this story from Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay.
About a judge taking Governor Rick Scott to task.
Tallahassee judge took Governor Scott to task for his restriction of medical marijuana dispensaries. Leon County Circuit Judge Charles Dodson rebuked Governor Scott, the Scott administration, and the Republican-dominated legislature for failing to properly carry out a 2016 constitutional amendment that broadly legalized medical marijuana. In a harshly worded order, scolding state officials for treating the Constitution like a recommendation. Judge Dodson gave the Department of Health 2 weeks to begin registering new medical marijuana operators, a risk being found in contempt.
All right. Florida, Tallahassee, the judge.
Oh, Florida.
Back in the cannabis, medical cannabis users. No, your sound wasn't broken, JCC. I was broken with the sound on that last story.
It's the end.
But it's the end. It is the end. It's the end of the show, folks. We thank you all for joining us, everybody.
Less than 3 hours.
We kept, wow, is that what you were trying to say? We kept it under 3 hours. Yes. Amazing. YouTube cooperated with the amount of videos that it provided for me this week. So there you go. The universe.
And we talked about the wonderful
vortex
stuff in the Cannabis Chronicle.
We did. We talked about stories.
And the call to action. So let's review that just again, real quick, like a bunny.
What is that about?
The call to action. We're all going to send notes, whether they are in, I'm just opening my.
At regulation. And actually the link is in the YouTube, description.
It is. And I'm going to add it right now to where we are in the
chat.
In the chat.
Yes, Vegan Metro, a short show, only 3.5 hours. Vaz, thank you for joining us.
Go.
All the new viewers, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, make sure you go to the FDA and make a comment, send a postcard if you want to remain
totally anonymous. You can send a postcard.
Right.
But I just put the link in the chat where you can just go to that page and type in your comment and it's done. And it's great to share it on Facebook and Twitter and all the things where you do that Vegan Metro stuff that happens. Share it around. Everybody check your voter registration. Make sure you're registered to vote.
Yep.
Make sure you're voting for politicians and things that will make cannabis come off the Schedule 1 of drugs. It means it's people who are out about being pro-cannabis, not secret pro-cannabis people. It has to be out about being cannabis friendly. So we all have an opportunity right now. It's super exciting. Our next show will be after the voter registration deadline in California. So I'm telling you all now, check. It's super easy to do. And thank you so much for being here.
Even Oscar and Jackpot are registered to vote. No, they're
not
registered. But we could easily register them to vote.
That's not true.
They just wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't be able to actually vote because they have no ID.
Because they're not people.
Oh, and they're not people. Right.
And that would be fraudulent.
But there are very chill dogs there next to you.
But do vote for cannabis, on this midterm election. It can change everything.
It's on your ballot. I guarantee it. Wherever you are, it's on your ballot. Even
somewhere or another. Listen.
Somewhere.
B in Los Angeles, Measure B is for a local bank. That is a pro-cannabis thing.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't say cannabis anywhere on it.
Excellent point.
But that is a pro-cannabis thing.
It is.
So also, yes on Prop 10.
Yes on Prop 10. And what's it like? W? No.
Prop 10 is a statewide thing.
Yeah.
So yes on Prop 10, California. Yay. Prop 10, Measure 10, whatever it is.
Because the rent is too damn high.
Yeah, because rent is too damn high. It's universal rent control for California.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
That's right. Because it's obscene, especially in the Bay Area and Los Angeles, everywhere in California. So we need that. So thanks everybody.
Yeah.
No Robin Hood tonight. Good interesting observation, Bonnie Lee.
Yep.
Did we blow out Robin Hood? I don't know.
No, she'll come back.
But we had more viewers today. We got more live
thanks everybody
viewers today,
for coming over.
You guys spreading the word is helping. If you can, subscribe, get notifications, tell people about the show. We do this every Sunday at 4:20 Pacific here at DC 420 LA on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope, on Twitch, on DLive for the Lino Blockchain Network, and on Weed TV, the Cannabis Network. So be sure to join us next week for the show when I'm sure we'll have more amazing cannabis news. Canada will be legal in Canada. in 3 days. So I'm sure there'll be news about that.
Yep.
And you know, it's the wild, wild west out here in California.
Yep.
So there's always great news every week. And we're going to be keeping an eye on the feds to see what kind of action happens, with regards to banking. If we're going to get some surprises over the next couple of weeks.
Maybe that's the October surprise, a banking thing.
Maybe that is. We'll
and that
see.
way he can hold the schedule, the descheduling of it for the 2020 for his reelection.
You know,
whatever it takes. I don't care.
What are you?
Let's move on.
What are you, Carl? You're the Karl Rove of, or the Steve Bannon for the cannabis industry for the
Thanks,
Republicans.
growers. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, all the trimmers. Thanks, all the everybody's.
Growers, trimmers,
all of
vegans,
our friends.
All of our friends. We'll see you next week. And here's our
Obi-Wan. Hi. Influx.
Thanks
everybody.
It's been great. We are we're definitely growing.
So
we're getting
good.
more
Thank
live
you.
viewers, getting more subscribers, and it's because you guys share it, and we're going to be making some more efforts to do that so that we can share this with more folks, and lots of amazing things happening with relief projects. So you guys are watching us all along that journey, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a very fun next year. Thank you all for your birthday wishes. My next year is going to be freaking huge, with my partner in life and in cannabis, badass Coach Chella. I love you so much.
I love you too, babe.
And it's time for our theme music. Support the toys. You know their songs, and we love our favorite. See you next week, everybody. Fought for peace. Free the plant, free the people.
The murderers keep murdering. The churches keep a-burning. The rapists keep a-raping. And the tide ain't turning. Uncle Sam, for all your power, things get worse every hour. It seems to me your energy's unwasted, chasing my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. The terrorists keep terrorizing. Our leaders keep a-lying. The haters keep a-hating. And the planet's dying. Uncle Sam, do what's proper. Call off your dogs and your helicopters. The problems of society were not caused by my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. How many innocent people gonna be imprisoned? We just peace and love, street pop and brotherhood freaks. A touch of Mother Nature never made nobody violent, never made nobody hate nobody or break nobody's peace. It's never been shown to be harmful. Don't you tell me no lies with your caffeine, codeine, nicotine eyes. The cannabis ban is just recent, just since 1938. To re-legalize it, realize it, you made a big mistake. Hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Leave us pot smokers alone.
Hello, what may I help you with?
Gerson sent me.
Gerson? Oh, yeah. That kid is really plugged in. Oh, let's get you set up. How may I assist you in your healing process?
I just want to get high.
That is healing. Are these items recreational? Of course, insofar as they allow us to recreate ourselves, get back in touch with our subconscious. Now, modern man lives on the surface.
How much for the lollipops?
Those are $15 each.
Are you serious?
You're paying for quality. That's my own blend.
This drug is dangerous.
Smoke
You
weed
cannot
every
play
day.
with it. It's not funny. It's not something to laugh about. Good people don't smoke marijuana.